Today, when you buy a smart home that relies and functions based on the cloud, you don't actually own it. Instead, you rely on an app provided by the manufacturer to access your own data. And at any point in time, the manufacturer, they can reduce your access to that data. Or maybe they just remove a feature from that you previously had access to. In fact, last month, there was a manufacturer, they pushed down a software update to a local device that the user could not stop from being installed to remove features that ran fully local, instead pushing the user to the cloud. And this is legal. Like, the smart home, it's the wild, wild west. Now we are building a different kind of smart home. My name is Paulus Schoutse, and I'm the president of the Open Home Foundation. Now, for the last 11 years, we have been building a smart home where your data is local, where the user is central, but most importantly, where the user is in control. And we're calling this the Open Home. Now, today, you're watching the state of the Open Home. This is our annual event where we look back at all the things that we have achieved, and we're looking ahead at the roadmap to see what we're planning on building in the upcoming year. Now, when I say we, I don't just mean me or the people working at the Open Home Foundation. I mean also all the 21,000 people that are working on Home Assistant and so many more. Now, we have a great event for you lined up. We're going to talk about the foundation, community, works with Home Assistant, voice. We're going to see how our values translate into practice. And of course, we're going to look at the roadmap. Now, everything you're looking at is live. We're going to have multiple places where we're going to do Q&A. So if you have any question pop in your mind, just drop it in the comments below. Missy and the team, they're looking at the comments, and we'll make sure that we look at some of the questions. All right, let's go. So I just mentioned that we've been working on the Open Home for the last 11 years, but only last year at this very event did we announced the foundation, the Open Home Foundation. And also last year at this event, that's where I announced that I had donated Home Assistant to the foundation. And other contributors throughout the Open Home community, they also donated important projects to the Open Home Foundation. And this meant that we had a very, very strong start. And this really worked. Like previously, the industry, they saw an open source project on GitHub with volunteers working on it. But now, with the foundation, they get it. They see us as an equal, as an industry player. And this translates to also how we're being treated. So in January, I was invited to speak at the Connection Summit at CES in Las Vegas. And I joined a panel with industry leaders to discuss the role of AI in the smart home. We went in Austin, we went to the Z-Wave Alliance member meeting. I pitched to them, how can Z-Wave open up and be more friendly towards consumers? Not only did they love our pitch, but they invited me to join the board. I'm on the board of one of the big smart home standards right now. And last month, Fast Company, they produced a list of the top 10 most innovative companies in consumer electronics, and the Open Home Foundation was on that list. Now, this is amazing because we're doing all of this while your data stays local, while we don't show you ads, and while we don't sell your data. This is proof that it is still possible. Now, not only has the industry changed how they see Home Assistant and the Open Home, but also the press is talking differently. And the best way to show that is with a clip from the Vergecast from last month. Let's take a look.
Home Assistant continues to be more impressive, I think, than I gave it credit for a long time. I was always like, Home Assistant is like the Raspberry Pi of the smart home world. It's like, it's a thing for people who want to tinker, and that's about it. And they are like pushing further and further down into just like, put this in your house, it'll be fine. I think that's pretty powerful.
We talked about Amazon and Apple and all their smart home stuff and all this AI stuff. And all of that kind of requires you to just believe that those services will run in the cloud and be reliable for you for a long time. And Home Assistant's like, what if you just had a computer in your house that was there?
Yeah, that just only did those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love this clip. David, Nilay, they so get it. Home Assistant brings to the table local control and reliability. Now, all these things that I just mentioned about all the things we have achieved, this has only been the first year of the foundation. We're just getting started. Now, when we started the foundation, we gave it a mission, of course. The mission of the Open Home Foundation is to fight for the fundamental principles of privacy, choice, and sustainability in the smart home, and for everyone that lives in one. Privacy, for us, it means that you are in control, you own your data, and it's stored local. Now, we're not against clouds, of course not, but it should be clear to the user what they get from sending the data to the cloud, what happens to the data after that feature is done, and can they ever revoke their data from the cloud? The second thing is choice. When a user adds something to their smart home, it should be included in the rest of its smart home. We shouldn't have siloed ecosystems of 5 devices that work together and 3 that work with their own things together. And third is sustainability. Things in your house, they need to be built to last. When you add 20, 30, maybe 40 smart home devices in your house, do you want to go in 5 years, when you've upgraded your phone or your laptop already, also replace all those devices in your house? It will be a waste of time to redo all the research. It's a waste of money because you have to buy all these new devices, and all the trash you're generating, it's a waste of the planet. Now, to show you how our values translate into practice, take voice, right? A couple of years ago, there were 3 voice assistants, and they were all by big tech. They were all closed down ecosystems where users had no control. So in 2023, we declared Year of the Voice, and over the last 2 years, we've been working very hard. And last December, we released a mass manufactured device that anyone can buy now to bring a voice assistant as a new option into the smart home that is part of the Open Home. Now, the hardware, the software, the voice processing, and the wizard to get onboarded to make sure that you're successful in setting it up, we gave it all away. It's all open source. Because for us, the future, it's not that you have 3 voice assistants by big tech and 1 voice assistant by the Open Home Foundation. No, we want there to be 20, 30 voice assistants. There needs to be choice. We need to have competition, people investing in technology, and only then do we get better things. Now, oh shit. I need to look at my cards. Oh yeah, because we give everything away, it doesn't mean that we don't care about money. We do, right? We have people that work full-time on all of these projects. We have people working full-time on Home Assistant, the brains of your smart home. We have people working full-time on ESP Home, the software that we make that can run on smart home devices, including that software that runs on our open voice ecosystem. We pay for the server, Matter server, Z-Wave.js, and ZigPi, our Zigbee driver. We pay for the companion apps for iOS and Android, and so much more. Now, the money the foundation gets, we get that from our commercial partner, Nabu Casa. And Nabu Casa, they make hardware and they make software to make it as easy as possible to run a Home Assistant. And whenever a user buys official Home Assistant hardware, whenever a user subscribes to Home Assistant Cloud, our official subscription, money goes to the foundation. And now, this was exactly why we started Nabu Casa 6.5 years ago, to fund the development of the Open Home. And today, and this is really amazing, today 56 people are working full-time on Open Home projects. 56, that's a lot. And that makes me actually want to talk about structure and how we're organized. And I know, this sounds boring, but hear me out. The Open Home, it's big. Over 1 million households worldwide, they run Home Assistant, right? We have influence on the industry. We have a lot of responsibilities. And because we have so many responsibilities, governance is extremely important. That's why when we started the Open Home Foundation, we registered it as a non-profit based in Switzerland. Switzerland has a long history of being neutral. They have extremely strict laws around privacy and around foundations. And as a non-profit, we're fully immune to corporate interests. And that means Home Assistant can never be bought by any company. No one can ever invest in Home Assistant. No one can force us to shitify Home Assistant or do evil shit. That is amazing. Our mission, our vision, our future, they're set in stone for now and forever. Now, one of the big things that we have achieved in the last year is that the Swiss government has given us tax-exempt status. And this was a lot of work. Pascal worked for months with lawyers, to align our regulations, the rules of the foundation, but also align our books and the way we spend money. And this is not just a one-time checkbox. This is an annual audit that the Swiss government will do on the Open Home Foundation. And the audit will guarantee that the time we spend, the resources spent, the money we spent, it's all in line with the mission of the foundation. Oh man, I forgot it again. Yeah. Now, whenever we worked on this, right, at every point in the step in the last 11 years, it was all about independence. From the very get-go, when I started Home Assistant, we've never raised any money. We have never taken any external money. We didn't borrow any money or relied on platforms that would own our code or the members that subscribe to Home Assistant Cloud. And that meant when we started the foundation, we spent a lot of time making sure that the structure is as independent as possible. So when Nabu Casa, a commercial partner, makes a product, an official product like Home Assistant Green, it is covered by a very extensive contract that whenever Home Assistant Green is sold, money goes to the foundation. And that at any point in time, the Open Home Foundation is in control. Now, Nabu Casa, it has existed way before the foundation existed. And so we've always hired people to work on the Open Home. That meant that everyone worked for Nabu Casa. But with our focus on independence, we felt that we could make some changes to strengthen the independence of the Open Home Foundation. So let me show you a slide of how this has worked, what kind of changes we've made in the last year. Initially, when we started the Open Home Foundation, everyone worked for Nabu Casa. And Nabu Casa donated employee time to the Open Home Foundation. But today, 17 people remain at Nabu Casa working on its products. Nabu Casa no longer gives employee time, but money. And 39 people have moved from Nabu Casa to work for the Open Home Foundation. And this gives the Open Home Foundation the ultimate independence. They can decide who to hire. They can decide who to prioritize and what to work on. And of course, they have to then follow that mission that we set and that they're going to be audited on to make sure that they do. Now, don't worry about your favorite people. Frank, Madalena, JLO, Mike, Kevin, you name it. They are all still working on it. Nobody's been let go. They now just work for the Open Home Foundation. And subscribing to Home Assistant Cloud is still important because the funding is still all coming from Nabu Casa. Now, you might think, okay, what does Nabu Casa think of this? They were a big company. Now they're this small company. Well, to answer that question, I have here today Ben Bangert. He's a co-founder of Nabu Casa and is Chief Technology Officer. Over to you, Ben.
Thank you, Paulus. To better understand the state of the Open Home and how we're able to employ the great teams we have, I'd like to talk about how Nabu Casa started and how that has allowed us to grow. Nabu Casa was founded in 2018 by Paulus, Pascal, and myself. When we started Nabu Casa, it was important from the beginning to build a sustainable small business. We all knew we wanted to stay independent, and the best way to do that is not to have loans, debt, or investors. We didn't want a startup for what we wanted to do. We didn't want venture capitalists pushing us to grow fast, corner a market, or how we could get a great exit. We wanted to be able to focus on building a company that wouldn't betray the trust the community has in Home Assistant. Over the past 6.5 years, we focused on building a solid foundation for our work. We've grown the company as our community and subscriptions have grown, ensuring we can continue supporting Home Assistant for the long term. Our approach at Nabu Casa has always been about sustainable growth. By avoiding the startup model, we can ensure we are under no pressure to compromise on our mission and values. It has driven our ability to hire and expand the company without taking on any outside interests that would have goals that don't align with ours. Through all of this, we've stayed focused on our core mission to make Home Assistant better and more accessible for everyone. This mission has driven everything we do. And as Paulus has mentioned, with the Open Home Foundation, our mission expands to fund the projects that expand the capabilities of Home Assistant. The ecosystem of devices people want to connect at their home is complex. With our subscription revenue supporting the OHF is able to employ people working on projects important to Home Assistant, like Z-Wave.js, Zigbee, ESP Home, our Matter server, and more. Building new products takes time, R&D, and multiple iterations. Some products don't make sense for traditional big tech firms, or they end up building it in a way that doesn't align with our position on privacy. We don't have to compromise on user privacy and choice when we develop products like the Voice Preview Edition, thanks to our business model. And when we develop these products, we also open source the hardware behind them. The way we're able to do this is through Home Assistant Cloud subscriptions. This allows us to remain independent and stay true to our users and build things that wouldn't make sense for large commercial companies. When you subscribe to Home Assistant Cloud, regardless of what features you're using, you're directly supporting the Open Home Foundation and the ongoing development of Home Assistant. This remains the primary way individuals in our community can support the project. We're grateful for the support of our community contributors and subscribers of Home Assistant Cloud. Funding open source projects is very challenging, and we wouldn't be able to be where we are today with all these great people working on these projects without your support. Thank you very much, and back to you, Paul.
Thank you so much, Ben, and thank you to Nabu Casa for all the support that they give to the Open Home Foundation. Now, as a nonprofit, we also have been able to accept donations. Now, I want to make clear that we don't want to have small-time donations, because getting these one-time donations as an organization makes it very hard to budget if you want to hire full-time employees. So the best way you can support Home Assistant and all our other projects in the Open Home is through the Home Assistant Cloud subscription. That being said, there have been some bigger donations in the last year that we would like to highlight. The first one, DuckDuckGo has donated $25,000 to the Open Home Foundation for our work on preserving privacy. Now, the second donation that I'm going to announce is from a company that's a bit closer to us, but it's very cool, and that's Espressif. Now, Espressif, they make very affordable chips. There are many smart home devices in our smart homes today, including in the Voice Preview Edition. And they really like the work that we're doing, and they've also decided to donate $25,000 to show to us to explain why they love to support the Open Home Foundation. We asked Theo, the CEO of Espressif, to send us a message.
Hello everyone, I'm honored to speak to you here today as the CEO of Espressif Systems. At Espressif, we firmly believe in the power and value of open source communities. Home Assistant shares a similar belief with us regarding openness, collaboration, and innovation. Over the past few years, we have seen Home Assistant emerging as one of the fundamental building blocks of the Internet of Things ecosystems. Its influence has continued to grow and is now supported by an increasing number of commercial projects. As we all know, the IoT landscape is incredibly fragmented. The diversity of applications, devices, demographics, economies, and use cases makes it nearly impossible for any single company to serve the entire spectrum effectively. So here, that's where Home Assistant's open source nature becomes invaluable. It empowers developers worldwide to build niche applications tailored precisely to the diverse and unique requirements, and hence accelerate innovation and progress. Looking ahead, we at Espressif see great potential for Home Assistant to become one of the de facto standards for IoT gateways. With the support and collaboration of the community, we believe that the Home Assistant project is uniquely positioned to unify and streamline IoT connectivity and device management. We are excited to continue supporting and collaborating with Home Assistant, and we invite all of you to join us on this exciting journey into the future of IoT. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Theo, and thank you so much, Espressif, for believing in the Open Home Foundation. Now, not all donations to the Open Home Foundation are happening in money. We actually get, as an open source project, a lot of in-kind free services. And I've highlighted the major ones on the screen right now. Now, and I especially want to highlight GitHub, because 21,000 plus people work on Home Assistant, and they all work for free because GitHub gives it all a resource for free. And any change they make, it runs our whole test suite. GitHub gives us the resources to make all of this possible. So big thanks to all of these companies for supporting our work. Now, I want to turn the table for a quick second because with the Open Home Foundation, we have also started donating money to other projects. Let's take a look. We have 3 projects. We have Buildroot. They provide the tools for us to make Home Assistant operating system as robust and stable as possible. There's AOHCP, the Python web framework that powers almost every API in Home Assistant. And there's Alpine Linux, the tiny Linux distribution that runs in our containers. Now, enough about donations for now. Let's take a look at music. Three years ago, we had an event called Let's Get Loud. And in that event, we added audio to the Open Home. And on that day, we announced 2 big features that became fundamental to the things we do today. Both were contributed by Marcel van der Veld. And the first one was that we added audio support to ESP Home. All of a sudden, ESP Home could play music, right? You could connect a speaker and it would work. And today, that support is now powering also playing the audio in the open voice ecosystem. The second thing that Marcel announced that day was Music Assistant, the way to take control of your music. Now, since those 3 years ago, Marcel, he has joined the Open Home to work full-time. He was, for a long time, leading Matter, and he was recently got Home Assistant Matter certified. He's been recently promoted, and he is now leading the new ecosystems department at the Open Home Foundation. I have Marcel here today to talk about Music Assistant. Marcel, welcome.
Thanks, Boris.
Hey, I think that a lot of people might have heard of Music Assistant, but might not know exactly what it is. Could you give us a quick intro?
Well, in a nutshell, Music Assistant allows you to play your favorite music, whatever it comes from, like from Spotify or any streaming service, local music, and it allows you to quickly and easily stream it to a variety of speaker devices, streaming platforms, ecosystems, without the need of having 10 apps, you just need one app. That's the whole idea.
In a way, what Home Assistant does for the smart home, Music Assistant is doing it for all your music and all your speakers.
Yeah. What's the whole idea?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so why did you create this?
Well, I created it out of frustration most often. You run into a limitation. So at some point I had 5 streaming apps needed, and I bought my kids. That's the rule. I bought my kids a new radio, and it doesn't support the streaming platform I needed. So I was like, okay, now I need to explain this, how to stream music to that device, to that device. And I started creating something for my own. And that's what got started with Music Assistant.
I love it. You come here today because we have some big news around Music Assistant.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm sitting here in your nice open home living room, right? Yeah, I have a big announcement, actually. It's because I work on Home Assistant all day, on all Home Assistant projects. I work on Music Assistant. We try to get the best out of both projects. I strongly believe in the Open Home Foundation and everything it stands for. So it makes perfectly sense to donate it to the Open Home Foundation.
Nice.
So that's some news, right?
Yes. I mean, this is amazing. This is such big news. I think the synergy that we can get of Home Assistant, Music Assistant, but also our new open voice ecosystem, which is also connected to speakers.
We're just getting started, right? We have all the building blocks. Now we should make it easier, streaming audio to the Voice PE or any upcoming devices or whatever. We just, this makes so much sense to combine forces.
I think it also makes sense because music is so much part of the home, right? We are every day, we're listening to music. Music is really a part of people's identity, right? So it's always on, and we want to make sure with the Open Home that we're all in control of your own stuff, and music should be part of that.
Exactly. It's like a bad feeling that streaming services are taking over control of what music we should listen, while we should determine
the AI swap that's stinky and
based on our mood or I want to listen to this music now. It should be easy and it can be automated. With the press of a button, set this scene and turn on that music, but also I don't know if you've seen those little devices you can put on it's ESP Home based, right? And you put on a small card, and it starts playing music, and suddenly
I love those.
The nostalgia comes back. Okay, this is the music I want to listen to, and put it on a device and starts playing. I love that. That's like combining the three, like Easy Home, Home Assistant, Music Assistant combined. It's amazing.
When you created Music Assistant, right? Like, I mean, we've only recently added it as a built-in integration in Home Assistant.
Exactly,
Like, how did you initially distribute this?
Yeah, well, like I told, it started as a personal itch, as a personal project, like, and at some point I got some comments on GitHub, like, oh, this is exactly what I've been looking for. Can you publish it somewhere? So, like many projects out there, I publish it on Hacks.
Okay, now, just for the people that don't know what Hacks is, Hacks stands for the Home Assistant Community Store. It is a place, it's a custom integration you can add to a Home Assistant, and it allows you to add all these other custom integrations that are out there that are not part of Home Assistant and put it in Home Assistant. Like, Hacks is amazing. Like it has been such a.
It's also an incubator for many integrations. That's how I started. Like I wasn't secure enough. Is this part of Home Assistant? No, not yet. I should start somewhere small, like iterate on it, and at some point I got it to core. I think there's many integrations starting that way.
Yeah. Oh no, I think it really helps you. The faster you release, right, you can mature faster.
Exactly.
And Home Assistant, we have a monthly release cycle, but I think. When you're just pushing to GitHub and Hacks updates, you can do.
Yeah, sure. You want to be in control, right?
Yeah.
Especially in the first stage where you're just trying out stuff. Yeah.
So today we have actually Joachim. He's a colleague of ours at the Open Home. No, at Nabu Casa. Sorry. And he couldn't be here today, but he did send in a message for all of you to see. Let's take a look.
Hi, I'm Joachim Sørensen, creator of Hacks and an employee at Nabu Casa. For years, I've worked on Hacks with the support of Home Assistant and Open Home Foundation. Given its importance to the Open Home ecosystem, I'm excited to announce that I'm donating Hacks to the foundation. This will ensure Hacks always has the support it needs to continue to be an amazing tool for the community.
Yeah, this is amazing. The Home Assistant Community Store is now part of the Open Home Foundation. Now, you might be wondering, what is happening? Why is everybody giving this to the Open Home Foundation? But the reality is that with the Open Home Foundation, we've created this structure that just is set up to work for the user and no one else, no corporate interest. And it's the only way to create a platform where we can build, where big tech or other rich companies can come in and they cannot ruin it, right? So we're protecting all of this so we can build the best platform for all of you. Okay, we're gonna do a little bit of Q&A now. We've seen some questions come in. We have Ben also now here. We have Marcel. This is great. I think
shoot the questions. Right?
Yeah, no. Yeah. So Little Papa John on YouTube just said, "I've been waiting 7 years for music to be integrated for Home Assistant. It already works great. Thanks, guys."
Thanks. Great.
That's awesome. I'm looking for questions. Okay, well, somebody's asking where. Michael Clement is asking where I can get this T-shirt. We're working. We're working on a new swag store. That is in the works.
Swag.
Yeah. Okay. Michael Wakey said, "Don't be evil. Home Assistant Foundation makes it impossible to be evil. Well done." That's great. Joshua Pysak is asking, "What is the Open Home Foundation?" Well, luckily this year we have Rewind turned on, so I should just go back a few minutes. Yeah, I'm looking at, I don't see any questions here. Jay Monty on YouTube, Marcel saying, "Music Assistant is one of the best apps I've ever come across. I cannot live without it."
Oh, nice. Thank you.
I'm just going to inject a question here because otherwise I'm just talking. And that is, when are you going to be able to stream your local music through the web browser in Music Assistant?
Oh, well, that's just been released. So you can now stream your favorite music into the web browser already. It's been released like a week ago.
Okay.
So and it even works over Home Assistant Cloud.
Okay.
So if you're away from home and you have the Home Assistant app, it will tunnel the traffic securely to your Music Assistant instance, and you can play your music while on the road.
Okay.
So that's possible. But this is just one version of it. We're going to extend it even with our own audio protocol we've been working on, but it's coming.
Okay, because
it's getting better and better and better.
That was actually the next question. Darren Griffin just posted on YouTube, "What is the future of multi-room audio?"
Yeah, what is the future? What I said, we're just getting started. So it would be amazing if we have like the voice PE with an audio jack out or an optical out, and then stream music to several audio devices in your home in sync, of course, without having to rely on the big tech like Sonos is a good example, right? They did a good example of messing up. So some people got some questions like, should I rely on this? So we're working on our own open protocol, which cannot be fucked up. That's
you say a good point, because a lot of these multi-room audio solutions and things that are out there today, they're actually tied to the hardware, right? And so if the hardware doesn't work, but then you also have to throw the software away, and you cannot. Now you have to put all these different hardware, like from the same company, it's vendor lock-in. And being able to layer that on top with Music Assistant is going to be awesome.
Yes. Like I said, we're just getting started. So if we can proceed with this, then...
So, Ben, just, you are actually, there's no question for you. I'm sorry. Like,
that makes it easy then.
Yeah, it makes it easy. But you are a big music nerd, right? And I think you have... expensive speakers, so you would definitely be interested, I would say, in multi-room audio.
Already using it.
Oh, you're already using it. That's good. That's good.
You're using Music Assistant, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Otherwise, I need
we got to dog food our own stuff.
Already using that. It works great with all the services.
Oh, nice.
And the new ones that keep getting added definitely make it easier.
Yeah.
So here's a question on YouTube from Ludovic Gabar. Will Music Assistant still be an add-on, or will it be part of Core?
Well, it will always be both, right? Because it's an add-on, because it's a dedicated, separate service of what Home Assistant is. Home Assistant is an automation controller. But it will be tighter integrated, because like right now, you need to go through all loops and holes to set it up. And that should be seamless. That experience should be a couple of clicks. Like you plug in the VP, hey, do you want to add music? Like it should be that simple. So yeah, we should definitely combine it. And the integration part is already part of Core. We added it last December.
Right, so. On YouTube, Vince Picone, he's asking a question. Sorry, this is all Music Assistant, Ben.
It's fine.
Is Music Assistant ever going to get its own app, or will the access always be through Home Assistant?
Well, actually, we're supporting everything now. That's where work started on an official app. But like, join forces, join our Discord server, because like, there's a lot of buzz going there. There are a couple of Android developers working on, a couple of iOS developers getting started with an official app. So join forces. Come with input, especially like UX design, UI design, because like that's the hard part. And like let's do it. Do it right. If you have some input, share it.
So this is actually answering the question of Emmanuel Carantina on YouTube, because he was asking, what about CarPlay? But of course, if we have our own native apps for Music Assistant.
Exactly, that would be awesome. Yeah, I never it started as in-home audio streaming, right?
Yeah,
and I never expected the request so high to also go into like because I was like, everybody's using a Spotify app or whatever. I was like, but I do no longer trust all these dedicated services. I want something that's mine again. So it kind of makes sense that we need to evaluate. But like, all right.
Good. I have a question for you, Ben. Yes. Thank you, Thijs Wieverink on YouTube. How do you determine if an employee works for the Open Home Foundation versus Nabokasa?
How do we determine?
Yeah. So
on the projects.
Exactly. Rewrite. How do we decide on who to move over and who not?
Right. So all of the open source projects essentially are underneath the Open Home Foundation. All the ones that have huge community investment that are run by the community as well, or run with the community extensively, are essentially all the ones that are over there. So the large open source ones, Music Assistant, Home Assistant, Z-Wave, all the main core contribution projects that we want to make sure that everybody can keep using as well. Those all go over there. And then essentially the stuff that incubates and starts inside Nabokasa is the larger type of well, not larger, but the ones where we're starting to do something with like hardware. And we need to build some new hardware product, and we do R&D over there. That's more of the commercial side that stays underneath Nabokasa. And then
Home Assistant Cloud, of course.
And Home Assistant Cloud also is over there, making sure that it can link together all of the other cloud services that we want to be able to offer people, and essentially a single, easy, one subscription where you just get access to all the other cloud things that you might want.
Yeah. Awesome. Joseph Dries 3 on YouTube, he's more or less dreaming, but it's a question, will it be possible to have the Home Assistant voice preview edition be controlled with a local large language model through Music Assistant?
I think partially that's already working today. Like we have like the voice repo published, where some experiments are already it works really well with an LLM. Like you can ask silly question, what was the theme song of, I don't know, Titanic, and it will start playing the How My Heart Will Go On song. But like, yeah, but locally that's more difficult. You need powerful hardware, etc. But the start is there.
Right,
the
start is there.
So this should definitely work at some point.
I think I think what you're saying, the knowledge of a local large language model is a lot harder, right? But then do we need to know that, or maybe we can just write up? It's always a hard balance between what do you do local, what do you do in the
definitely
cloud.
Check out the voice repo. Voice support repo, it has some excellent examples to set it up today. Sky Wood Flav on YouTube is asking, will there be Home Assistant certified products like we see with HomeKit or Google Home? Well, Skywood, keep watching because we're going to talk about the Works with Home Assistant program in a bit. And, well, you know, that's what this is about. All right, I think it's time to wrap up the Q&A. Thank you so much, Ben and Marcel. It's time for the next chapter. A few weeks ago, I was giving a talk for a big security company in the United States, and I talked about the journey of the Open Home Foundation. And at the end of my talk, somebody asked me this question. And he was like, okay, listen, you've been doing this for 11 years. You started out just writing code. Now you have so many different roles. Now you're the president of the Open Home Foundation. What is your North Star? And for me, my answer, it was community. Because if I was just still by myself in my apartment in San Diego where I started Home Assistant, it would not exist, right? It's the community that together is building the Open Home Foundation projects. It is the community that helps people use Home Assistant, solve problems, and help create automations. And it's other community members that are creating content to teach people that are not yet part of our community to enter our community. Now, when I was a student back in the days before I started Home Assistant, back in the Netherlands, like I would hitchhike, I would travel all over Europe. And everywhere I would go and meet and hang out with local students in their cities. And I would learn what kind of things they drink. Wasn't always a good idea. And we just talk to them and learn from their experience. And with the Open Home community, I now have the same thing. Every time I go somewhere, and my wife doesn't always like this, but I try to meet the community, like do meetups, meet with contributors. I've been in Croatia, I've been in Denmark, in Utrecht, in Reykjavik, in Iceland, and in San Francisco just in the last year. And everywhere I meet people and they tell me the stories of like how Home Assistant improves their life. They share their war stories about automations and the data they had to gather to make it all possible. And they share amazing dashboards. And it's that feeling of knowing that you work on technology that improves for people's lives around the world. Now, for the Open Home Foundation, community is also extremely important and a part of who we are. So I want to talk with somebody about community. And who better, you might know him if you hang out on Discord on Friday, because that's where he always shares his work, shares his screen, and talks with the community and works together on projects. And who better to share all this experience about our amazing community than Frank Nijhoff, leader of the Home Assistant project.
So who here uses Home Assistant? Yeah, me too. So for the folks that don't know, Home Assistant is an open source home automation platform that lets you control everyday devices like lights, cameras, and thermostats, regardless of their platform or interoperability. I've been a huge fan of this project ever since Jesse Newland, a former Hubber, showed it to me so many years ago. Now, I haven't quite outgrown it running on a Raspberry Pi 4, but it probably just means I need to automate some more things in my house. Hacking on my own version of Home Assistant is how I keep coding in my daily life. That's why when we launched GitHub Sponsors, Paulus, the founder, was the first maintainer I funded. That's how much I believed in their work. And I'm not alone in that. With over 83,000 GitHub stars across their top 5 repositories and over 5,000 users having a PR merged, Home Assistant is a prime example of how a passionate community can turn their ideas into reality. Now, while I could talk about Home Assistant all day, I'd rather show you what it can do. And who better to do that than the folks behind the magic? So let me introduce Paulus, founder of Home Assistant, and Frank, engineering lead for Home Assistant. Good to see you both.
Hey, Kyle.
Make a positive difference every single day. Be the change. That's my life motto. Hi, I'm Frank, and I'm the lead of the Home Assistant project at the Open Home Foundation. And today, I'm going to talk something that really matches my life motto well and is close to my heart, which is the community. The video you just saw was from GitHub Universe 2024. GitHub, in case you don't know, is an online social coding platform where over 115 million developers collaborate on coding and building software out together. It's also where all the Open Home Foundation projects are being built and live. And at the last GitHub Universe, Paulus and I were given the opportunity to speak at their keynote about Home Assistant, the Open Home Foundation, and how amazing open source is in general. But what Paulus and I didn't know is that they actually had a surprise for us too. Because it turns out that according to GitHub, we are the most active open source project in the world. In 2024 alone, 21,000 unique contributors joined us on GitHub, building out Home Assistant and literally building out our shared mission for a nice open home. And this is massive, right? 21,000 people volunteering their spare time into building something amazing. But the true cherry on the top, though, we received a GitHub Community Award too. The Community Award for being the most welcoming open source project on GitHub. And what's truly amazing about this one is that this is not just an award by the community, but it's for the community. Those 21,000 people made it welcoming. But all this GitHub data is actually incomplete. The Open Home Foundation is so much more than just Home Assistant. It's like ESP Home, now Music Assistant, and Hacks too, right? We have partner projects like Z-Wave.js, WLED, and Zigbee to MQTT. Not even to start thinking about the thousands of community-maintained and created projects out there that extend our projects, right? The custom integrations, the add-ons, all the custom cards, and many, many UI elements that are out there. But communities around our projects do not just consist out of developers. No, not only developers who handle source code on GitHub. Our community is so much larger than that. There are lots of people that do translating everything, making UX designs, or do beta testing. And we have people that hang out in our community forums or Discord servers and subreddits, Facebook groups, you name it, they're everywhere. And not just official communities, but also many more smaller, often regional communities. They share ideas, share inspiration, they share experiences, and help each other out. Our Creator Network is also a great resource, and any other content creator out there, creating podcasts, YouTube videos, tutorials, and blogs. So this diversity of skills of all these people is our true strength. We all find ways to contribute to this huge community we have, and we all chase down the true open home. And if you think about it that way, our community consists out of people that are using all of the projects we have in the Open Home Foundations. Our users, like you, right? So let's put this in perspective by talking about some numbers. Because last year, I was also standing on the same spot during the State of the Open Home of 2024. And we had a huge celebration with lights and such about we achieved the crazy milestone of 1 million active installations. That number is crazy. Even still today, it's hard to comprehend how we achieved that number over the 11 years before that. But today, about a year later, I do want to give you an update on this number because our community is growing really, really, really fast. We currently estimate that this number has reached well over 2 million installations.
Woo!
2 million, yes, definitely. 2 million. Holy mother of home automation. That's double up in a year. This is insane. But it does make you wonder, right? Why is it that a project like Home Assistant has grown into such a big thing? Well, again, the community and thus you. Let's talk a little bit about your role in all of this. Because looking at our total community size, the part that actually writes code is small. Well, it's still big. Like, we're the biggest open source project in the world, so it's not that small, but it's relatively small compared to 2 million, right? So how does a community as a whole shape and influence the direction of all of our projects? Well, we don't just use the things we build. You help the community decide what to build. And the key here is that we listen. By sharing ideas, use cases, tutorials, issues, even annoyances, wishes, or simply a workaround, and by collectively listening to one another and by finding solutions together, we manage to collectively build something that we actually all want and love so much. And one great example of how we do this is through something we call Month of What the Heck, an event we organize at Home Assistant once every 2 years, where we ask you to share through just a simple forum post what you find annoying, missing, or maybe even just a little weird. And doing this from scratch every 2 years is a great way to measure the current state of our project. And your feedback gives us all the insight, like it's a gold mine, really, that we need to process the future of the project further. And the effect is real. During the month of What the Heck, we immediately see code contributors jumping in, addressing things raised that month. More importantly, by learning what's important to you, you are actively shaping and influencing the direction of our roadmap. Something that is truly exciting, by the way. You should stick around because Madalena will talk about the roadmap of 2025. And I'm stoked about this one, so definitely stick around. But another good example this year was backups, actually. When we released the backup feature, the revamped backups, the community expressed very loud and clear that part of this newly direction taken in the backup features was not heading into the right direction. But we listened. Not only did we improve it, but we learned from the feedback. We adjusted the plans and built something better together. So the thing here is that we don't just want to listen when we're right. We want to listen when we are wrong too. And that is how open source should work. We are not building this for you. We are building this with you. And we are all real people. We all have a face. You can talk to any of us directly. Together, we keep innovating, iterating, and constantly improving the projects we run together. Now, listening to all of this, you might wonder, cool, that's my section, but how does the Open Home Foundation fit into all of this, right? And let's say by starting that the foundation is not just a legal thing. It's an active and structured operating organization with a mission. And we strive to support and openly enable community-driven ideas to become a reality. And we do this by providing resources, coordination, expert support across a whole bunch of different disciplines. And after all, the foundation was created for you. So while all of our projects are open source, which is, by the way, a superpower, to be fair, it has some limits. Some ideas are just way too big for one person to take on alone and to contribute in just their spare time. And because most of the time, building something like a large feature takes a whole team. You need front-end engineers, back-end engineers, UX designers, maybe some researchers, copywriters. And if it's that big, you need probably some kind of project manager as well to structure it all. And that is exactly where the Open Home Foundation comes in. The foundation exists to support the community, not just with good vibes, although I'm all for the good vibe, but with coordination and actual resources. It's how we take something someone wants to build, and together we turn it into something that can be built. It's a real operating organization with a massive amount of passionate people from the community for the community. So how do we go from here? We actually want to grow the community, which we grow fast, but we just don't only want to grow in numbers, we also want to grow in depth. We want to keep making the open home even more open, more accessible, and more collaborative. We are setting up to not just code in the open, but fully develop in the open. We are looking at ways to get other disciplines of the development involved in the public earlier. This includes designing in the open, opening up project management, opening up user research, and everything else that's involved in building out a software project like this. We are building a kind of collective intelligence, a mind hive, powered by people all around the world, solving real problems, improving lives, and shaping the future of the open smart home. And all the learnings we had from the Home Assistant project all these years, we are going to take that and apply it to all the Open Home Foundation projects we have. We've come a long way, but I'm pretty sure we're still at the very beginning. So recently, we've been seeing more and more in real person life meetups being organized, just as Paul has just mentioned. And I've been lucky to be able to visit a few of them during my travels, as you can see in these pictures. It's a great way to connect together because we are all real people. And it's a fun way to find and connect with like-minded people that apparently often live close by, actually. So from the foundation, we can actually help you to organize these things, right? And really help you to grow and organize these meetups. During Home Assistant's 11th birthday, Missy, our community manager, already announced it, a Home Assistant Community Day. A day where we collectively go out and organize meetups all around the world. Meetups where we connect with each other and talk about our smart home journeys together. And this first Community Day is happening on May 24th, 2025. Keep an eye out on our blogs and socials, as Missy soon will provide details on how you can participate in this in your local area. I can't wait for the opportunity to meet some of you on May 24th, so I hope to see you there. With that said, that's all I have. Thank you for listening. If you have any feedback or have ideas or just want to have a chat, as said, we're real humans. I'm always open for a chat. From this point on, please mute your voice assistants because we are going to look at a video from Runar. Runar, we met at a community meetup in Iceland recently, and he is going to show us how he uses Home Assistant to make his life easier.
Okay, Nabu, let there be light.
As you wish, Master. I have turned on the lights in the living room. Is there anything else I can do for you?
Hello, my name is Runar. I'm from Iceland, and today I would like to show you how Home Assistant makes my life better and my home more accessible. I can control many things in my home. For example, I can open and close the windows, I can control the radiators. Okay, Nabu, close the living room window.
The living room window is now closed, Master.
And then, most of the lights are automatic. And they turn on for me where I go. And then, what I'm doing, they help me. And then when I leave, they turn off. So I don't have to worry about that. And when I want to leave my home or come back, I don't need any other assistant than Home Assistant to help me to open the door. Okay, Nabu, open the door.
Opening door.
Okay, Nabu, close the door.
Done.
And that's just scratching the surface of my Home Assistant system, which on top of all of this has 76 automations controlling everything behind the scenes. And I can control all kinds of grow lights and automatic watering. I can fill water tanks. I can set how many liters I want. I can start filling, and I see how long until it's full. So yeah, I think that's about it. And I hope my story can inspire others to try to use Home Assistant to improve their lives, and that developers see that Home Assistant really matters. Thank you, and see you later.
I had the opportunity of meeting Runar in February at the Reykjavik meetup, and it was really great just to see the things that he's been able to achieve with Home Assistant. And the Icelandic community, by the way, it's such a vibrant community. I was talking earlier about our open voice ecosystem. Well, we have nobody on the voice team that speaks Icelandic, but academics from the Reykjavik University were able to take the building blocks that we have built for our open voice ecosystem, and we're able to add Icelandic speech-to-text and text-to-speech support. So now there is a new choice for an Icelandic voice assistant. Like, that just shows the power of the community, how together, people around the world, we can make these things possible. Now, remember, this is all live, we're doing Q&A after every couple of presentations, so keep dropping those comments, keep dropping the questions in the comments. Now, I want to dive a little bit deeper into the community. We have changed the way our organization works in the last couple of years, from only a group of like engineering to adding product and design and marketing. And all these different departments, they help us to better understand the community. And within the product and design department, we're having product managers, product designers. We have UX researchers, UX designers, and they are constantly interacting with the community, coming up with ideas, testing them with the community to make sure that the things that were working are working for you. And one of those people that have joined us in recent years is Annika, and she's a UX researcher, and she's going to tell you more about how she works.
Thank you, Paulus, for the introduction. Let's start with a quick look at why we are conducting user research for the Open Home technologies. User research helps us understand how people interact with our software and hardware, what works well, what doesn't, and what could be improved. It goes beyond just looking at feature requests or bug reports. It's about understanding real-world experiences, uncovering pain points, and ensuring our products empower people rather than frustrate them. For products used in home environments, such as Home Assistant, this is especially important. I conducted multiple user studies in the last years about smart homes and understood meanwhile how complex living spaces can be, considering that often multiple people with different needs, preferences, and technical expertise live together. Additionally, life can be chaotic from time to time. Concerning user experiences, it is crucial to consider that a person's and a family's needs might change accordingly due to different life circumstances. My role as a UX researcher is to learn about your experiences and perspectives to make sure that the smart home can support all inhabitants effectively, helping to facilitate daily tasks where needed, while remaining adaptable as life evolves. In the product and design team, we follow a systematic process, the product development lifecycle. There are several stages in which user research is particularly important. In the discovery phase, we uncover pain points and blind spots that are not yet covered. That's personally my favorite stage of the process, because this often includes very open conversations with users and learning about very different ways of living. The research phase is to dive deeper into specific topics, for exploring the forums, reading articles on the topic, and conducting more targeted user studies. In the validation and evaluation phase, we challenge our assumptions, evaluate concepts, prototypes, and the overall usability to make sure that what we build is intuitive, effective, and truly meets our users' needs. What's important to us when conducting user studies is that the people we want to learn about are actively involved as participants. This means that we don't collect user analytics about the usage of Home Assistant passively, but instead engage actively in a conversation with study participants. To learn about you and your experience, we rely on your contribution in form of responding and sharing information with us. Practically, this typically involves inviting some of you to an online meeting for an interview or a usability test. That we start or engage in a discussion in the forums or on Reddit, or we ask you to fill out a questionnaire. We typically ask you to provide information about yourself, your wishes, preferences, and needs. Therefore, there can't be ever be a wrong answer that you can provide to us. We approach you since you are the experts of your own experience. The collected data will then be systematically analyzed by us to provide a basis for informed database decisions in our design process. You might have come across user research activities that we conducted throughout the last months. The projects vary in their scope and timeframe, but they all have in common that we ask you as a community to get involved. Here are a few examples. Matthias and JLo had several calls with users to collect feedback on a new concept for the trigger of our automation engine. I conducted a study on privacy, one of our Open Home Foundation values, for which I started a thread in the Home Assistant forums and conducted interviews with some of you. And Marcin asked you on Reddit to fill out a questionnaire to determine what research should be made available for you to review historic data in Home Assistant. The options that the participants rated as most useful are meanwhile implemented and can be found in the user interface. One of the big examples was the yearly community survey that we conducted for the first time at the end of last year. When we launched the survey, all of us were truly impressed by your engagement. Already within the first 24 hours, more than 1,500 people filled out the questionnaire. Usually, with such a long survey, it feels like you have to beg people to fill it out until the end. In total, 8,616 participants filled out the survey, and we are incredibly grateful for the time and effort you invested here. And opposite to the more narrow research activities that I mentioned before, the Home Assistant Community Survey helps us to gain an understanding of the community as a whole. We learned, for example, how and who the people are that live in a smart home, how their homes look like, and how they use and interact with Home Assistant. In the following, I'd like to give a few examples of what we have learned through the survey so far. About starting a smart home, we learned, for example, that the biggest motivation for the participants to start a smart home was out of personal interest in technology and curiosity. This emphasizes that Home Assistant is more than just a tool for automation. The Open Home projects provide a framework for people to experiment with new technologies and learn related skills. Additionally, we learned that setting up a smart home often coincides with larger home changes themselves. More than a third of the participants integrated smart home technology when they moved to or constructed their new homes. This highlights an opportunity for us in the product and design team to align the user experience with these home transitions. We also learned that almost 2/3 of the participants started their smart homes with another platform and migrated after some time to Home Assistant. For us, this reminds us to keep in mind that users coming from specific platforms or brands are used to their designs and accordingly have specific expectations on how things work. At the same time, you didn't switch to Home Assistant for no reason, reminding us to highlight our strengths in comparison. Finally, most participants of the community survey have been using Home Assistant for more than 3 years. New users are not well represented in the survey data. We are aware of this limitation when we draw conclusions and will approach newer Home Assistant users specifically in upcoming research activities to make sure the Open Home technologies also meet their needs. We also learned a few things about the homes of the survey participants. For example, most people have between 11 and 100 devices integrated in their smart homes. This gives us a feeling for the scope you need to keep an overview of. With meaningful design and representation of devices and entities, we can help you in doing so. For example, to locate them in the house, manage updates, and overall staying organized. About the buildings in which the participants live in, we learned that 3/4 own their home, in most cases a family home of more than 100 square meters. Almost 2/3 of the participants live on multiple floors. This information helps us to get a feeling of the living spaces we are designing for example, for dashboards and areas of the home. The size of the home reminds us that devices are likely spread out more, which is relevant for the range of signals. Still, we're keeping in mind that several hundred participants live in an apartment. We're, for example, aware that renting the home sometimes introduces challenges and new criteria to setting up smart home technology. We also learned quite a bit about other home members than the person setting up and maintaining the smart home. On average, 2 to 3 people live in the smart home. Most survey participants live with their partner, half of them also with children. Additionally, half of the households also have pets, with the participants being equally dog and cat people. Interestingly, the first most popular pet are fish, which makes a lot of sense considering the many possibilities to automate around aquariums. Regarding their interaction with the smart home, we learned that less than a half of the partners and not even a third of the children in a smart home interact with Home Assistant directly. Most of them don't interact with any smart home platform at all. This reminds us to consider them particularly in the design of open home technologies, for example, in making dashboards more user-friendly for them. A survey also revealed that in 1/4 of the households, the inhabitants speak multiple languages on a daily basis. This might impact the household's needs or preferences regarding interactions with all kinds of written and verbal communication with a smart home, such as with dashboards or with voice assistants. Furthermore, we asked in the community survey about your alignment with the values of the Open Home Foundation: privacy, choice, and sustainability. For each value, we asked how much you agree with the different statements about it on a scale from 1 to 5. Based on your responses, we are provided with a ranking of the values and gained insights into how important they are to you, as well as how well they are implemented in your smart home. Choice is the most important one of the survey participants, which is practically integrated in most households in form of devices and services from various brands. Privacy is the second most important value to most participants. With this value, we see a divergence between the importance and its implementation within the smart home. This behavior is a common phenomenon that other researchers observed as well and described as the privacy paradox, according to which people value privacy a lot, but don't act on it in their everyday lives. Sustainability follows as a third. Practically, we approach sustainability from 2 perspectives in the survey. One referring to monitoring energy usage, and one covering the longevity of devices. We will later in this stream have a panel discussion where we go more into detail about how we understand these values and where we see more work to do for the open home technologies. All these research activities help us to learn about you, your lives, and your smart home usage, and recognize our personal biases and assumptions. They remind us that we are not the users and that our perspectives do not necessarily reflect your understanding, wishes, and needs. So thank you again to everyone participating in the community survey, and please keep your eyes open for other studies and tests to participate in. Looking forward to engaging with more of you and to learn about your lives. We really appreciate your contribution in form of participating in user research.
Okay, it's time for some Q&A now. We got Frank here, we got Annika. Talking about community, I think first most important question, Annika, are you a cat or a dog person?
Cat.
Cat person.
Good question.
Yeah, okay. Bunch of questions is coming in. Please, people, if you're watching, make sure you drop those questions, right? Because like, otherwise I'm just gonna make things up.
Please ask questions.
All right. Here's a question for you, Frank. What has changed in how the community works on Home Assistant now versus then, back in the days?
Oh, versus 7 years ago, for example. It's such more of like back in the day, it was more engineering driven. We had so many developers going around. At the time, there was no like real UI yet either, right? So it was more YAML configuration only, a lot more templating, no real dashboards like the generated one. There was a staged dashboard more. It was all real static. So we came from tech to people that build and use it now towards like 21,000 people developing it. It's a huge number, but 2 million instances using it. You see this gap grows, right? This gap changes between we're no longer a developer used and maintained product, but also like we have an actual user base that are not developers. And so that changed massively. And that's something we have been striving for years, right? We have been adding more UI. Not everybody wants to code all the time, right? I don't want to code when I turn on and off a light bulb automatically.
Definitely.
So that's changed mostly, and that's reflecting in the community.
Awesome, thank you. This question is for you, Annika, from YouTube. Jaap is asking, where are the Home Assistant or Open Home Foundation research papers, results, and data published? And Skywood Flav on YouTube is asking the similar question, will the survey data be open sourced?
We didn't publish it yet because we didn't fully analyze actually the data, but yeah, we will share the insights from the survey.
I think also back in the day, we used to publish some of the results on design.homeassistant.io, which was like our design gallery with like the brand guidelines and kind of it kind of became a dumping ground. Maybe
we had to put it somewhere, right? Yeah.
But you know, we would love to share that data, of course, as long as we can. I think you're doing a lot of one-on-one interviews with people, which those, of course, we have to keep private.
Yeah, exactly. There we share the analyzed data. And for example, the insights from the automation research we shared, I believe, on Reddit or in the Home Assistant forums.
Right, yeah. So there's data there. I think we could do better, more centralized, maybe. Brad Cameron on YouTube, Frank, is bring back Frank's live streams.
I hear that a lot, and I absolutely love, but it's exhausting. There's a lot of work we can do, so it's a balance of time. Maybe one day, hopefully.
Right.
No promises.
Eric Zeitz is asking a question on YouTube, just leaving it to who it goes. Will there be a way for community members to ask for potential integrations or features that don't exist yet?
I can take this one on. So the difficulty with integrations is that asking for it is not enough. You need somebody that actually uses the thing, right? So if you have like a great television, you want it integrated, but there's no integration yet, I'm not going to build that if I don't have that TV, right? So that's how it works. You need to find like-minded people in the community that maybe have the same products and can help you develop this thing. So the place to go for this, the best place to go for this is the community forums. We have a feature request section there. Search it. It's likely that somebody already asked it, and get into the conversation. Maybe somebody will pop up and help you out.
And Month of What the Heck?
Month of What the Heck? Well, yes, not for integrations, but
still, for the other features.
But for feature, like if you want a new integration, that's the place to go. Definitely.
All right. Because of some time, we're gonna wrap up this Q&A right now.
Yeah.
For the people watching, make sure you just keep popping those questions for the next Q&A session. For the two of you, thank you so much. Let's get to the next chapter. Thanks. Okay, we're back. Now, we're here with a big community, right? But the community comes here for a reason. That is Home Assistant or one of our other open home projects. It's a smart home. And our smart home, it's made up of all these devices. But how well do these devices work? And like, if you're holding a product, do you know if it will work today in Home Assistant? There is an integration. Does your model work? Will it keep working? Does your data stay local? Will it work without internet? And does it use an open standard? These are all very difficult questions to answer. And to make that life better, we started a couple of years ago the Works with Home Assistant program. It's a program where we work with manufacturers to make sure that we can answer these kind of questions. Now, this program has evolved a lot, and there's a lot happening. So to talk through with this and kind of catch up, I have Miranda here. She is a partnership manager at the Open Home Foundation. Miranda, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. You are responsible for the Works with Home Assistant program today. Can you explain what the program, how it works today?
Yeah, sure. So like you said, it's been ramping up quite a lot. It's really a way for us to showcase the manufacturers who work with us the most closely. It doesn't close off anything, it doesn't stop any devices working, but it's a really great way for us to work closely with manufacturers, for them to give us continued support and to sign a real robust certification agreement to show that they're going to maintain their integrations long-term so that the devices carry on working in your smart home. And the way that we showcase this is with a Works with Home Assistant badge.
Nice. And I mean, this, by the way, this has happened, right? Like users reported bugs. It was like, hey, this is a Works with Home Assistant.
Yeah.
We have an engineering contact. We work with them. They fix the bug. And then?
Then they're a direct line of contact with us, and we make sure that integration is always maintained or that protocol is always working.
Yeah. That's awesome. And do we have any goals with this, or do we just do this for just having those answers for those questions?
We have loads of goals with it. I think the main thing is that we really want coverage as much as possible. So wherever you are in the world, however your smart home currently looks, whatever device type you're trying to kind of add to your smart home, we want you to have a really great choice of options that work locally. And locally is the really key point. We don't certify anything that is cloud only.
Can't trust that shit.
Exactly. So what we do is, if you want to use cloud, cool, that's your choice. But it should always be your choice, not the choice of the manufacturer. Yeah. So we make sure that everything works locally. We know that all of the functionality is available within Home Assistant, and we test it really extensively.
That sounds really good. Can you share some numbers about like how many people we have in the program?
Yeah, sure. So I joined about 6 months ago. Since then, we've signed agreements with 16 companies. Some of them are previous companies who have been with us for a long time. A lot of them are new ones. We've already announced quite a few in the most recent months, and we've got loads of in the testing pipeline as well. So loads coming up to showcase. So a couple of names for you. In the last 12 months, we certified Aqara, Apollo Automation, and the most recent one was Motion Blinds as well. And then we also have our partners who are renewing their contracts, people like Xthings, who do the UltraLock lock brand, Third Reality, Home Wizard, many more.
Nice. You've brought actually some devices, right, of our partners?
Yeah, so these are some I prepared earlier. Some of these, they all came from my home, but they're specifically from my office instance so that my Home Assistant instance isn't completely broken while I'm abroad. So I brought some Third Reality products. These ones, they're really nice, kind of cost-effective, baseline things that you would need for your smart home. So switches, sensors. This one I think is really, really cute. It's a water leak sensor. It usually sits under a sink in my office. But I did actually take the batteries out of this one so that I didn't spill water on it accidentally and set a huge siren off during the live stream.
That's good. That's good. You just mentioned Apollo. Oh, you want to show another device? Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a couple more. These are just little teasers. So these are from partners that we're going to be announcing soon. So this is the Eve Energy Plug. Oh, nice. Eve are a really great German brand. They're joining us in the next couple of days. This is an energy monitoring plug. Really robust items. Great addition to the program. And then this one, I know you like. So this is a Reolink camera.
Oh yeah. I have Reolink myself. I use their doorbell. It's like they're very affordable. They work fully local. And actually, the other day I was helping a sandwich shop like get set up and the things I do in my spare time. And we chose for the camera. I actually chose the Reolink because it just works local. There's no ongoing cost, and it's WebRTC. The camera stream is
exactly.
super good.
It's a really good alternative to the cloud cameras that lots of us know about. So But as you said, Apollo Automation. I'm pretty sure they're joining the live stream today and commenting. But we're really grateful to have them in the program, and they prepared a short video for us as well.
Hi everyone, I'm Justin.
And I'm Trevor. We're the co-founders of Apollo Automation, a small hardware and software company that just joined the Works with Home Assistant program with the first ESP home-based devices to be certified. Apollo started as a weekend hobby project to build a motion sensor. We released the project out to the Home Assistant community, and the overwhelming positive feedback lit a fire under us to make this into a real thing. What started off as Saturdays here and there quickly became full-time jobs, where we now build sensors across a wide variety of areas, including motion, air quality, plant health, and temperature. We do all the design, assembly, shipping, and support in-house from our company. We build sensors that don't require a cloud, and we're very big on our community-driven development through our Discord community.
So that's why being a part of Home Assistant and joining the Works with Home Assistant program means so much to us. We've been building made-for ESP home devices since day one, and this partnership is a huge milestone for our small company. It shows our commitment to building quality hardware that is plug and play with the best smart home platform out there. So congratulations to Home Assistant, Nabu Casa, and Open Home teams for everything they've accomplished this past year. And thank you to the Home Assistant team and the community for believing in us, and thank you for letting us build something meaningful. We're just getting started.
Okay, I love this so much. Like Apollo, they just came out of our community, right? They were users of Home Assistant. They were users of ESP Home. They just saw something themselves that they needed. They built it. People liked it. They started selling it. They started this process of like, and it's genius, of course. Like if I'm asking the users what they want.
Yeah.
And then we just build it for them and the users are buying it because that's what you need. And so all of a sudden they've quit their other jobs and they're now working full time as like a company, just basically serving the open home. And we've seen multiple of these kind of initiatives happening throughout our ecosystem. And yeah, I love to see that because it really helps not only grow the available devices, but these are devices that exactly match our value set, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And what they're really great at is making sure that they're still really integrated with that community. It's part of the agreement, actually, that we want companies to act well within the community, to take community feedback on board, take product ideas on board, and act on the feedback that they're given.
Yeah. We do device certification now. These are devices that work well with Home Assistant. Are we getting rich?
No, we're a non-profit organization. So no, this isn't a pay us money and you get the badge kind of deal. That is not how we work. It will never be how we work. None of the, the items that are featured or anything like that are sponsored content. Nothing is kind of happening through that kind of channel. The whole point is just to give people a really good choice of options that we know work well with Home Assistant and align to our values. And we also wanted to make sure that price wasn't an issue for smaller companies like Apollo Automation, who are maybe just entering the market, but they really align with the values of the Open Home Foundation.
Well, that's actually cool, right? We have from like the big players like an Eve or Reolink all the way to Apollo. Yeah. As long as you match our values, you're welcome.
Yeah, exactly. And Apollo are a nice example as well because they started with the Made for ESP Home badge.
Oh, yeah.
And that just tests code, which is great. But the program for Works with Home Assistant has more robust testing too. We test everything super thoroughly. And we also make sure that things like firmware updates are available from within Home Assistant, especially if you're using open protocols like Zigbee or like Z-Wave. And we also have OTA firmware updates.
Well, those things actually used to not exist, right?
Mm-hmm.
We started those for Z-Wave. We started firmware update service. We started for Zigbee. We see companies come to us, even the ones outside of our program. We don't limit it, right? And I want to provide firmware updates to my users that are using also Home Assistant. Can I use your platform? And we always say yes, right? Like, let's do this and let's keep people updates because bugs suck, right? If you're going to have to throw out a device because it doesn't work, but a software update could have fixed it, that's annoying. Yeah. So, yeah, that's great. So we want to grow this program, right? You said we want to cover every region in the world. There should be these choices for Works with Home Assistant devices. How can our users help?
So get involved, let us know on the forums, on any of our community channels. We want to hear about it. I definitely lurk on Reddit and on Discord and things like that for suggestions. But also, make sure that you're telling the manufacturers and putting pressure on them to provide support for Home Assistant, to provide an integration, or use an open protocol. And a great way to do that is to direct them to our new partners website, which should be on screen now. And there you can see all the partners who are joining the program too.
That is a great final shout out. Please tell your favorite manufacturers, as long as they don't use the cloud, that they get in touch with us. Okay, thank you so much, Miranda. We're going to wrap up and it's time for something else. Okay, just a reminder, we're doing this all live, right? So we're gonna have a Q&A after this segment. Now, the next thing we're gonna work on has been 2 years in the making, and I couldn't be more excited about it because it's very close to my heart, and that is our open voice ecosystem. Now, we've built it, right? And it's the most, everyone can automate this voice assistant. You can tune it, you can customize it, you can do whatever you want with it.
Phone call.
Hey, Paulus, this is your home assistant. You left the garage door open. Would you like me to close it?
Yes, please. So this is actually possible with our voice assistant. It's called the world's most private voice assistant, and we have made it so that Home Assistant can talk to your phone, and then it can talk with AI, it can control your house, all that cool stuff. Just search most private voice assistant, Home Assistant, you see how you can make your own. But I'm not here the one going to talk about voice, because there's only one person that should talk about voice, and that is Mike, the voice Hansen, the voice guy at the Open Home Foundation. Over to you, Mike.
Hey, thanks, Paulus. I gotta get that ringtone. It's really good. So I am Mike Hansen. I am the voice guy at the Open Home Foundation, and I'm here to talk to you about the journey that we have with voice in the smart home. All right, so I've been actually part of Nabu Casa originally and now Open Home Foundation since 2023. I joined as the kickoff for the Year of Voice, where our goal was let you control Home Assistant in your language. And over the last 2 years, we have built out a complete open source voice stack for the smart home. And this has gone from hardware all the way up to software and protocols even. And I guess something I'm most proud of is that we've brought choice to voice in the smart home. It's not just voice assistants from the big players or something that's really more of a dev kit. Now we have something that I'll talk about in a moment that is really polished and gives you lots of choice. So our voice stack lets you mix and match services that process your voice. And so it lets you choose where the data goes and how it gets processed. And this lets you do things like having a fully streamlined local voice assistant that you control exactly, all the way up to having something that AI controls, and you can have all the bells and whistles. I'm also very proud of the work we've done with the community. We've had language leaders in our community step up and become leaders for their particular language for voice. So this includes things like translating voice commands and doing beta testing and everything. Lastly, we're also dipping our toes a little bit in the water for collaborations with the industry and academics. For a long time, I've suggested to people that Mozilla Common Voice, that project, is a great way to contribute to open source voice, and we're hoping to collaborate with them in the future. So keep eyes out for that. All right, so I'd say the star of the show kind of in our open source voice ecosystem has to be the Voice PE, or the Voice Preview Edition. This is a smart speaker, smart microphone that runs ESP Home and integrates very well into Home Assistant. We released this in December, so we have like a release thing that goes over all the little details, all the cool little features and everything. I won't rehash that all here. This is definitely the easiest way to get started in voice today. So part of this is due to the awesome onboarding wizard that our product team designed. This lets you basically discover the device with your phone and a couple clicks, and you are set up and ready to go. And it's even going to help you make good choices on those voice services to get the best experience for what you want to do. People ask me a lot, so Preview Edition, what's being previewed here? Is it the hardware? And no, that's not the case. Actually, the hardware is awesome, solid, and I don't see a big changes coming to that. What the preview is really is about the software. This depends really on the voice services you choose. If you choose something like Home Assistant Cloud, then you're going to have probably a great experience for most languages that people speak, very fast response times, all of that. It's more for if you choose the local options where it can be kind of hit or miss depending on the hardware that you have or the language that you speak. And I'll talk more about that in a moment. The last thing here on my slide, this is something that I feel it should be the standard, but this is kind of unusual, that this is actually your device. So you own it in every sense of the word. You can flash your own hardware on it. You can customize it as much as you want. This is Home Assistant. We do things that other people don't. You can automate all sorts of aspects on it. You can change the voice assistant that actually you're talking to on the fly with a button push. You can have your own 3D printed cases. Nothing's glued here. You can actually just get into it with a screwdriver. And I think for a lot of people, one of the most important pieces is you can actually have a fully local voice assistant where no data leaves your house or goes on the internet. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that here. People who know my work know that I started off with an open source voice toolkit called Raspy that really focused on local voice processing on lower powered hardware. And I was happy to announce, we had talked about it earlier this year, a new system called Speech-to-Phrase, which brings the best parts of Raspy forward and allows you to have fully local voice processing on low-powered hardware like the Home Assistant Green or on something like a Raspberry Pi 4 or 5. And this is a big deal because to date, our recommended model to use is OpenAI's Whisper, which is a very accurate model depending on how large, if you use the larger versions or the smaller versions. So I have some numbers on the screen here. If you're running the smallest version of Whisper on something like a Green, you can get a response back from it in about 2.5 to 2 3/4 seconds, which is not too bad. But if you have more, steps to your pipeline that are a little bit slower, it can end up being 3 to 5 seconds turnaround for each voice command, which can feel a little sluggish. And so this speech-to-phrase, which we're improving language support. There's limited languages now, but more coming. Has far faster processing times. You can see on average less than half a second. And the way this is working is it's trading flexibility for speed. So speech-to-phrase only recognizes a pre-built set of commands, things for turning on lights, setting timers, and all that. The core kind of home commands that we wanted to support. And what's really cool though is you can extend this command list yourself by just adding an automation to Home Assistant. So you can run your cool script with whatever sentence you want. Speech-to-phrase is definitely faster than Whisper. Again, less flexible. It's not quite as fast as Home Assistant Cloud, and which makes sense. This is a giant data center somewhere versus a tiny little computer, right? But for some people, the speed is part of it, but the flexibility is more important for what you can say, and that's especially important for AI, which I'm going to talk about next. And to introduce that, I want to show a video here from one of our teammates, JLo.
Welcome back. Do you want to pick up where you left off?
Yes, please.
All set. How can I assist you today?
What's on my shopping list?
Your shopping list has the following item. Beer. Is there anything else you need?
I think I'm going to leave. I'm going to pick up the beer.
You're all set to leave. Safe travels and enjoy your shopping.
That was really cool. I love this video for many different reasons. Probably at the top has got to be JLo's awesome enclosure for his voice preview edition. I wish I could have one of those. Maybe I should ask him to make me one. And so yeah, this demonstrates all of the different pieces of AI that you can use in your smart home. And I think this is unique to us. This is your choice to use AI. We also support different AI services, things like OpenAI, which I think is what was used here. Gemini, Claude, and you get to choose to use the AI, and you get to choose whether or not it controls your home. So this is not something where a firmware update forces you to use something that you don't want. Instead, I'm going to talk about here some of the features. One of them, the first one there that you saw when JLo entered the room and it asked, would you like to pick up where you left off, is actually a recent one where you can, from the Home Assistant side, you can initiate a conversation with the user and get a response and actually start a back and forth going with them. The next one is you saw it like turn on the lights and open the shutters and everything. So the AI can control your house. You give it access to the same devices and the mechanism that you do to our regular voice assistant through exposing it. And we've had the control feature for a while now. This is something that's been built by the community. We were kind of early adopters, actually, of AI in voice, in open source voice. And we really wanted Home Assistant to be a playground for AI in the voice, in the smart home. I would say we've gotten very far. I don't know if I'd say it's quite ready for prime time yet. Models are changing all the time, so something that worked today may not work tomorrow, or may work differently, or the AI may do something unexpected. May turn a device off that you didn't expect, or something like that. I think we're very close, though, in having this ready where it doesn't require a lot of tuning, and we can give some solid recommendations. Also, besides the big names in the AI space, you can also use something called Ollama, which is local AI. If you have the hardware, most people don't have multi-$1,000 hardware to run it, but that stuff's getting cheaper all the time, and I think that probably will be something that's much bigger in the future, where you can actually run these local AIs in your smart home, in your home. Lastly, the space is always changing in AI and LLMs, but something that seems to be emerging, at least, is these certain standards for how AIs talk to external tools. This is called MCP, and it's still getting formalized, but Home Assistant is already on the bleeding edge with this, so we can have AIs actually call out and use Home Assistant as a tool. And then on the flip side, we can have Home Assistant expose external tools to the AIs that your voice assistant uses. So lots of things are building up around this, and I'm very excited for it. I'm very excited, definitely, for the future of open source voice in the smart home. And just want to give a big thanks to a number of folks. First off, our language leaders. We could not have done this without you guys. Besides translating voice commands and answering questions for users and everything, they helped us beta test the Voice Preview Edition. So thank you guys. Thanks to everyone who purchased the Voice Preview Edition. I think we're on manufacturing batch number 3 at this point, which is a very clear signal from people that this is something they want, and they want us to keep doing. And so we will keep doing it. Also, thanks to the ESP Home team, who we worked closely with to get the software running on this. And over time, the features that we built for the Voice Preview Edition are moving into ESP Home Core. So all of the work that went into this is going to help benefit everybody. And then lastly, thank you to the Home Assistant Cloud subscribers for funding my work and funding the entire Open Home Foundation. So thank you very much.
Okay. Welcome back, Mike. We still have Miranda here. It's time for another Q&A, and a lot of questions has come in. I think the audience is getting warmed up.
Oh boy.
Yeah, well, there's some good questions and there's questions, and then no, I think here's a question from Kenneth on YouTube, Miranda, for you. Do companies contact you to get the Works with Home Assistant badge, or do you reach out to companies?
Yeah, a bit of both. So loads of companies reach out to us because of community pressure and feedback, which is amazing. It's such a cool way that people interact, and it really just goes to show the power of the community, that companies will sit up and listen. They'll open up their ecosystems. They'll provide local control when community members ask for it. But also I go out and I fill gaps as well. So like I said, I lurk on our forums quite a lot, and I see what people are recommending. And if we don't have current, good integrations for those devices, I reach out to the manufacturers as well. And I spend a fair amount of time on the road kind of filling the gaps and making sure that all regions are covered.
I think also, even if a company doesn't join the program right away, just us being in touch with them is just so powerful to make sure that the companies or the projects are aligned, and we can at least collaborate at some levels, right?
Yeah.
Okay, here I have Eduard Witteveen on YouTube is asking, this one is for you, Mike, because I know you've also been recently working on it. I'm super excited for when I can run he means voice, all locally with Dutch and LLMs. Any timeline for that too?
Oh boy. The LLM part is going to be a little bit tougher, but if this depends too on if you're doing something like speech to phrase, or if you're trying to do something more flexible. And like we said, with with AI, you probably want the more flexible option.
Yeah.
Whisper, unfortunately, especially for the smaller models, doesn't work so great outside of English. It kind of falls off really quick.
Right. We need Dutch people to like build a speech to text like fine-tuned Whisper. Or...
Right. So this is where I think the big help is going to come in having people find there are fine-tuned Whisper models out there for various languages. So I'm making a push this year to try and collect all those together, and also doing an extension to Whisper that hopefully makes it better able to recognize your device names and areas.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I would say within the year, this is going to be a lot more possible.
Right. So that's on the speech to text side. I mean, the LLM side, again, this is, academics or, or open source people, but you need to spend some serious time on building like a large language model that speaks a specific language. But what about text to speech?
Text to speech. So this is something where Piper, the text to speech system that we built, is going to be the way to go. To date, the Dutch voices have they've been lacking in quality, but I'm happy to say we have received several Dutch volunteers who donated their voice and now are waiting for me to train some new voices. So we're going to have that.
And I think people should know that, right? Like people can contribute their voices to make our text-to-speech system, and we just need one speaker to contribute the voice, and they get a language, and then it will work for everyone.
Yeah, this really is a case where one person can make a huge difference.
Yeah, there are some people asking about like more like a music focused voice preview edition. I think, by the way, the announcement of Music Assistant has joined the Open Home Foundation. It's gotten a lot of people really excited and brainstorming about all the different options. But yeah.
Oh, so I mean, I can say things are definitely coming. Marcel, in fact, is my new boss, so I gotta get on that. Yes, I think Music Assistant joining the Open Home Foundation is a big, I don't know, it's a big step in saying that this is the way we're going forward with music, right? So we're not going to try to piecemeal integrate these other services and everything. It's all going to come through Music Assistant. So that gives me a focus as to how music is going to be realized on the Voice Preview Edition,
right?
As well as Kevin, who's the other guy working on the voice stuff. And so that I think that gives us a very clear path forward for how we're going to do this. And the AI side of it, like we said, is a bit more difficult, but I expect that within the year or so we'll have the ability to stream music easily.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. On the Music Assistant, we're staying on Music Assistant. This is a question for you, Miranda. Someone was asking, and I'm going to make sure I call out the name, because otherwise, what are we doing here? Lucas Feyen is asking on YouTube, with all these projects moving to the Open Home, does Works with Home Assistant is still cover the name? Or would, for example, Works with Music Assistant also be a thing?
That's a great question. Not something we've really looked at before. But I mean, we need to get through the testing schedule of Works with Home Assistant first. I'm just one person at this point, so we need to kind of make sure that program is really robust first, and then if the community needs it, we can definitely take a look at it.
Well, and of course we have the Made for ESP Home program as well, which has like a different audience. I think Music Assistant is more at the same user level as Home Assistant end users, right? And so maybe there is a system. I mean, we would love to get Music Assistant support for everything, but in the end, if you just support an open protocol as your streaming box, then you already work with Music Assistant, right? But definitely something we want to keep an eye on. Peter Geert is asking YouTube, maybe you know Frank, but when will we get Frank his voice for the Voice PE?
Oh, so Frank has on his to-do list, which I assume spans from here to the year 2300, to record his voice. So we'll see at some point. We do have not supported on the Voice PE, but there have been Hey Frank, wake words trained.
True.
So you could have eventually in the future here an all Frank all day voice assistant.
Nice. Okay, I want to thank both of you so much. Thank you for all the work you're doing, the passion you bring to your projects, and let's go for the next segment. We actually have a video brought to us by Shelly. Shelly, they just signed for the Works with Home Assistant program. We don't have any devices in yet, but they've been a long-term partner, providing a local API, providing a lot of engineering samples to, for example, the people working on the Shelly integration. And they've made a video because they found a museum, of all places, that was running Home Assistant and Shelly, and it's actually really cool. So take a look.
The Mob Museum tells a compelling story of organized crime and law enforcement and its impact on American society. It's very immersive, it's unique, and it's thought-provoking. My name is Ryan Marcus. I'm the Senior Director of Technology here at the National Museum of Organized Crime and Law Enforcement in awesome downtown Las Vegas. Here at the Mob Museum, we use Home Assistant as kind of the core, and that brings all of my IoT things kind of together. It has, helped us save some time and save some money. We're downstairs in the basement of the museum. This is our control center here. All the HVAC, all the access control, everything comes from this room down here. With Home Assistant, we're able to pull in from several different sources, right? So all the Shelly devices, other non-Shelly devices into one dashboard, allowing us to get a brief overview of what's happening at the museum at any given time. With Shelly and security, what's great is they do provide us local control. If it doesn't have local control, we're not going to be using it. It helps us monitor different kinds of devices to make sure they're not going haywire and just using too much electricity. This is an area in which allows us to kind of create our own dashboards, write our own code, write some scripts, set up some templates, and those types of things to make it pretty easy for the facility staff to monitor and check out what's happening on a day-to-day basis. In this area behind me is the distillery. We do have Shelly Pluses here with the expansion pack with temperature sensors on all the cassettes over here, making sure all of this area that we do produce moonshine in is nice and cool and keeps it even. And we get those notifications sent back to the facility department if we have any issues there. There's folks that have these larger control systems that you're needing to pay a monthly fee for. Take that leap, try something new. Like, don't stick to all the same things that you're doing or spending that giant amount of money. Grab a IoT device from Shelly and program it and see what you come up with.
All right, that was a sneak peek into Mob Museum Assistant, as Goozer 3000 just mentioned on YouTube. I really love it. We're doing a conversation right now. We're going to have talk about how our values translate into practice. Now, I can welcome back Annika and Frank to the stream. I also have Marlene here, our head of product and design. And of course, when Marlene hits the stream, things are getting very serious. We're seeing, this video, I think it covers a lot of things that are very related to what we do. Of course, it's Home Assistant, but the things he was saying, one of the things was like, he cares very much about local control, right? Like the museum cannot stop working. There's critical things. I thought it was really great.
Mm-hmm. Another very good point about local control is that it's private by design. And whenever we have a cloud connection, people actually have to consider, assess, is that cloud trustworthy? And in the user study that we conducted recently, we learned that people are aware that they have to reconsider those choices. Mm-hmm. So they constantly have to watch, are there any news? Are there privacy breaches coming up? And with a local setup, that doesn't happen.
Yep. And there's all this local stuff, like the connection can be anything. We have so many open protocols available to pick from, like Z-Wave, Zigbee, Matter is quite hot and common in right now. So there are many options to pick from, right? To get your devices local and get a privacy-aware one. Like the Shelly ones actually are pretty well known for having a good local API.
Yep. Like if you want your Home Assistant to be stable and like fail less, like don't depend on the cloud, right? Pick open protocol.
Right. Yeah.
Like the one joke that we always have is like, if space station have to pick a home automation engine, it will be Home Assistant.
It will be Home Assistant for sure.
Works in space.
Yeah. And that being said, of course, we are not against cloud. I also said in the beginning. I think the weather station. We always say, like, if you want the weather, well, that comes from a big model computed somewhere else, right? But we try to make sure that when you use Home Assistant, we keep people reminding of why we have our values and kind of steer them in that direction.
Yeah, I would say there are good clouds and bad clouds, right? And from that perspective, not every cloud is bad. There are definitely cloud services there where you pay for, and they have like probably good privacy statements and things like that. That can be a viable option. Sure, when the internet goes down, you can connect to them and things like that. But yeah, there are also cloud options there where you have no fees. Like the product is almost for free and it talks to it all the time. Like if you don't pay for it, you are the product, right? So that's how it often goes.
And if you want a private cloud, you just have to do a lot of research, a lot of learning, and like check, is that privacy statement actually aligning with my value or our value?
Yeah, especially in this day and age, right? Privacy is very important. You don't want your data to be taken by a big tech corporation and use it for something else.
Yeah. So I want to, we talked a lot about privacy, local control. I want to shift gears a little bit, right? Because, there's 3 values. And, so I know, like, Malena, sustainability, what's hot, what's happening, what's the cool things that you see happening?
Well, first of all, when we look at the community survey results just now, it's like many of you don't care about sustainability the most. That's fine. And like still have a little gap to go to implement sustainability. So let me explain what that means, right? Sustainability, even though it seems like a very greenwashing word or something, but I can make it simple for you, right? Sustainability is to sustain. To sustain means to last long, right? Make our planet last longer, make our home last longer, make the products that you own last longer. And even if you don't care about the planet, well, I care about the planet, but if you don't, your wallet will also last longer because it uses less energy, things broke down less, so you don't need to replace it as often, which is exactly what the guy from Mob Museum just said, right? They want to make sure that's something that is easily replaceable, but also you can track all the energy usage, so keep the cost low running the museum all day.
Well, I think, and even on top of that, also there's repairability, right? Like you get a device, and if you cannot repair it, you can throw it out. So we see this, for example, there's so many smart home products that have like a lithium-ion battery inside that is non-standard, custom format, sometimes glued in. Well, are you going to replace that?
Little like cell batteries, like the batteries. Besides that, they're dangerous for kids, by the way. They swallow those things, so please don't use those. But they are not chargeable.
Oh, yeah. Well, one open standard that has existed for a very long time and not a lot of people talk about is AA and AAA batteries. And something that's really cool, like recently the new IKEA sensors, like now they use AAA batteries, which means that I don't need to keep buying coin batteries. I can use rechargeable batteries. It will just work.
I mean, I love it. I wish more companies would move to that kind of system, because it's just, it makes also sense for me. I can recharge those batteries at home, right? I don't have to go buy new things. I don't have to throw things out. I don't even know. I live in America. I have no idea where to bring batteries. Like I just collect them, and this jar keeps getting fuller and fuller. And I don't know.
IKEA stopped selling them fully, right? And all their smart home products now have normal AA batteries. I think it's kind of a bold move, actually. And but it's from a sustainability perspective a good one.
Yes, oh, for sure.
Yeah. Sometimes open standard doesn't need to a fancy new thing, right? AA batteries is something that lasts a long time.
We have a lot of standards, not just within energy, also in the smart home, Zigbee, Z-Wave, Matter. Do you have a favorite, Frank? If I would go out, what would you say we should do? Is there a winner?
I think my home is a mess. So no, but it is. I recently blogged about it too, but it really is. Like I have them all, and that's why actually, like it is. I am actually. I don't know. Like it depends on the use case. That's always the answer. And then the question is, how about my use case? And that's hard to answer. Like Z-Wave is cool, especially long range coming down the road.
That's very cool.
The range is cool. That's nice. Zigbee is good, availability everywhere around the world.
Very affordable.
Very affordable. Matter is fairly new, and it still has like its little bumps and still needs to grow up still. So, but it is getting better and better. So it's becoming an option. But there are always devices that have just a local API. Like I picked my EV charger because they had a local API, no clouds attached. You can look for that stuff and make up your own decisions there and decide how you pick something. So.
Actually, from a privacy perspective, with the people I talked to in the interviews, their smart home is also a mess. Like I said earlier in the privacy...
For everyone.
It's universal. Smart homes can be messy.
Yeah.
And people try to follow a strategy to set it up privately, but they follow choice as well, and they pick what they like, and then they try to introduce privacy. But we actually, in the community survey, saw a favorite, and it's Zigbee.
Zigbee.
Yeah. I think the bigger problem is, though, starting out with your smart home. Like, nobody starts with the idea of, oh, let me build a smart home, right?
No,
you start out buying a device or two, and it turns out to be smart, and they're often not the choice that you should have made in the beginning, right? And that's how you end up with the clouds, or maybe even start out with a negative experience that shouldn't have.
Right, the not so smart home.
The not so smart home. Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
So there's a open standard that we haven't talked about yet, and that's my favorite. And that's also what Andy, which is the hardware guy from Nabokasa, said is a secret weapon. And that's ESP Home, which is a project by Open Home Foundation. And ESP Home is an open standard. And it's great for sustainability. It can help you reuse, repair, and repurpose, right? So
and even extend.
So like like if you ever need to change like what when you buy hardware that use ESP Home, like anything from like Apollo Automation, right? Like if you ever want to extend it, you can do it with the pins, and if you want to repurpose it as something else, you can actually flash it with your own firmware.
I mean, that's also like the Home Assistant Voice Preview Edition is also ESP Home. And we actually, you can break out a small tab at the bottom and has a growth board. And like there's people adding temperature sensors or buttons, an NFC scanner. I saw like this project. And it's amazing because you keep getting updates because ESP Home keeps getting built. And, you're fully in control.
Yeah. One cool thing about the Voice Preview Edition is like some people actually measure it, and it's like how little power it actually used like during standby. A lot of ESP32 devices are like that too, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool. And that's actually like one of our hardware design principles, which actually set out to do this year. We have 5 principles. First, we need to make sure that it's trustworthy. It's a device that you can trust. Second is that it has to be functional. The most important function of the device need to work. Third is sustainable, and we make sure the packaging, everything is recyclable, it's paper. We make sure we use as little plastic as possible. So like for the green, we still have that hue thing that we use, but like in the newer packaging, as you see, it's just the device. Keep it simple. And then of course, aesthetics and form is important, and lastly is cost.
Right.
So very happy we are following those principles.
Frank, just talking about like some hardware that now we're talking a little bit about hardware. So do you want to give a teaser of kind of what is the next hardware thing that is coming down the Open Home or like the Home Assistant official hardware line?
Ooh, that's a big thing.
Oh yeah, that is really big. Yeah,
it's a big thing.
Yeah,
like big.
Yeah.
Is that enough?
I'll tell you. We're working on the Home Assistant Connect ZWA2, which is going to be the best Z-Wave antenna in the world. I won't share any more details because we're working very hard to get this all going, and we hope somewhere, this summer-ish. No hard promises, but it's coming, and it's going to be amazing.
I received a sample, like the last one we did, the last production run. That is some impressive stuff. So I
think and just about Z-Wave and privacy, or Zigbee and privacy. What I like about those two protocols is that privacy is built in. A Zigbee device, a Z-Wave device, it can never ever talk to the internet. Zero. It's just not. It's not part of the protocol, right? So it can get a radio message into Home Assistant or whatever controller, but of course you're using Home Assistant, because otherwise you wouldn't be watching right now still. But and that's the only, if you can trust Home Assistant and you can trust us, we're the good guys. You can trust that these devices. That's it.
So what is the range of Z-Wave long range actually?
So
theoretically,
theoretically it's more than like 1.5 kilometers or 2 whatever. It's like it's really long, but you live in a brick house or there's like neighbors. It's annoying. They also wave stuff in the air and
like aquariums.
But it's like long enough to reach your mailbox on the street.
Yes, no, that's for sure. That's going to be one of the cool things.
That's being a sensor that you got mail.
Yeah, you got mail.
Yeah, Well, or like a button on your bike. When you're biking home, you can already like, I don't know, open the garage door. So I don't have a garage door, but like...
I thought you had. I just heard the phone.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nou ja, okay. Then any final words on values?
Make a good choice. That's privacy in mind.
Yeah.
But also sustainable.
Yeah.
Whatever device you buy.
That's a good one. Vote with your wallet.
Yep.
Right? If you keep buying crappy devices, you are going to reward these manufacturers because, you know, the store said, oh, wow, I'm selling so many of these crappy devices. I'm going to buy more of those. And then they're like, right, everybody gets rewarded and we should only reward people that do the right thing.
Yep, we should.
Yeah. And that, I mean, that's also where Works with Home Assistant comes where in again, because we try to highlight, of course, those people.
Exactly those.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. I want to thank you all three so much. Annika, you're going to leave us right now. Thank you so much. I'm keeping Marleen and Frank.
Oh.
Things are going to get real, so stay tuned. Okay, we're getting into the final stretch, but also I think the most interesting one, and that's roadmap.
Oh,
and last year we had our very first open home roadmap. It was great, it was amazing. We've achieved almost everything. So I'm gonna split this segment in two. We're gonna reflect on last year's roadmap. Then we're gonna send Marlena to the big desk to announce all the cool stuff. Or maybe it's going to be boring. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yep.
So, roadmap 2024. I think the best feature that we launched by far, by a mile, was you are now able to download your history in the CSV file format.
Wait. That was not a roadmap. So.
That was not last year's roadmap, Paulus. It was also never, ever on a roadmap. No.
So just a little bit about last year's roadmap, right? We looked through all the feature requests that we have, like the top voted ones. We like look at our user interviews, look at all the problems and pain points that our users have, and we prioritize them. Like JLo and I did a lot of work on it. And the theme, like essentially what we're trying to do is to improve the home approval factor, and in a few fronts, in dashboards, in voice, and in automation. And yeah, we pretty much we hit a lot of the pain points that people have. We check quite a few things from the feature request forum.
So to be on dashboards.
Dashboards is huge.
That's
D&D.
Yeah,
drag and drop.
Yes.
Well, it's actually the first time that I'm not a UI person. Like
we know.
Thanks, Paulus. No, but like I'm more in the automation stuff. I'm more interested in that. So dashboarding and coding in general, right? I'm a developer at heart, but making dashboards is something that's like creativity needed that I don't possess. And with this new dashboarding stuff, I can just drag and drop. The tile cards look amazingly good, by the way. So yeah, this is even for me.
Like we sent out our area dashboard survey recently, but like even besides that, like people were saying that like previously they never made any dashboard. Now they could just prototype one like in less than 10 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool.
Yep.
So the other thing that was really big, automations. Automation organization, I have to say,
that brings good memories.
Yeah, so organization, organization of automations has been a feature request for many, many years.
Oh, yes.
I've started working on it, what would be by now 3 years ago, on the concept of labels.
Yep.
And then at that time, Madalena joined, which was really cool because she was looking at this stuff too. And, well, we hooked up with this part and we made it happen.
Yeah, we're like, well, this is at the top of our roadmap, and oh wow, you already have most of it coded. So what are we waiting for? You know,
let's ship it. So with that, we actually not just made an organization feature, right? We made all the tables changed. Like we all have these data tables, sortable, fillable, whatever. And you can it looks amazing. By the way, it looks really amazing. But it's also like everywhere. It's not just automations. We dropped it.
Yep.
On every single place.
The filters are great. Yeah.
No, it's labels, right? Categories, floors.
Yeah, you can target them as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like grouping really makes it easy to like go through thousands of entities.
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
So I want to do one more thing about last year because you know, I see in the chat people are like, "What's coming? What's coming?" No, but the other thing I think is backups.
Yep. So that was like essentially a feature that is between Open Home Foundation and our commercial partner Nabu Casa, and I think like that's one thing that like us really want to emphasize that is we want to give users choice, and we don't want trick people to sign up for things that they don't need. We want to give users all the information they have and pick the right thing from them. We want them to make the informed choice. And so like in this case, like when we're implementing cloud backup, we want to make sure that besides like Home Assistant Cloud being a storage location, we also make sure that we are extending it for integration and to allow all kinds of different locations as well.
Yeah, we don't want any lock-in, like not even
nothing
for a commercial partner, Nabu Casa, right? Home Assistant Cloud by Nabu Casa is great if you have a subscription, by the way. You can store your backups there, which is really cool.
It's included, right?
It's included in a subscription. It's super nice, but it would be so easy to make that the only option. And that's not how we roll. Everything we make extensible by default, right?
Yeah.
We want to have the choice.
Yep.
So if your choice is Google Drive, use that. If your choice is OneDrive, use that. If you have a Synology, use that. If you want to do it through all three because you're paranoid, like to lose anything, do that.
Yeah.
So that it's really cool.
Yeah, no, it was great how it turned out, and we see adoption. Like, you know, people love backing up now because it's just 3 clicks. You go to the wizard, it's set up, and you know if ever anything goes wrong, it's right there.
Don't worry about it. It just happens.
Yeah. Okay, I think let's talk enough about last year. Marlene, you ready? Then let's do 2025 roadmap.
Here we go.
Cool. It's showtime for the roadmap of 2025. So one thing that we just talked about was cloud backup, and that's something that what I really like about is that the Home Assistant project, we are the people that set up the platform for other people to build upon. And that really ties with the central idea of this coming year's roadmap that I'm very excited to show you. So first things first, like what is a roadmap? So roadmap is not a list of feature requests. It's not like very granular. It's about providing a direction of what kind of problems we want to solve for the user. And it's not a strict timeline, but instead it's a rough time frame. So it gives us room for the different parts of a product development lifecycle. Sometimes maybe we need more time for research. Sometimes we might need more time for design. So we don't want to pressure anyone into like shipping a product just to meet the deadline. And yeah, so let's do it, right? Cool. So one thing I want to recap is what is the mission of the Home Assistant project, which is the biggest project within the Open Home Foundation. The Home Assistant project is we want to build the best smart home platform. And by smart home platform, we mean the ability to automate, monitor, and control devices in your home. And we want to make sure that when we do that, it adheres to the Open Home values, which is privacy, choice, and sustainability. But last but not the least, and actually really most importantly, right, as Frank talked about earlier, is our community. This is powered by our users, contributors, our creators, and our partners. And with that in mind, let's take a look at what we're going to do. So home approval factor is something that we use to describe the adoption of smart home within a household. We want to help our users to build a great smart home. And having a great home approval factor is not just about like improving the experience of the person setting up a home assistant, right? The maintainer of a household, they have users too. And to do that, they need to understand them, right? The users that they have is like the family members, the roommates, And sometimes if you didn't set up your smart home correctly, we heard people in like user interviews that they might be the victims, and we don't want that to happen. So right now, as Annika had mentioned earlier, only about half of the partners and about a quarter of the children that uses Home Assistant directly. There's a lot of work for us to do. So, and here's the gap, right? Many of our users are amazing at setting up their smart home, like many of us here. But sometimes we don't have all the context, right? My roommate has a dog. I don't know what it's like, what kind of automation I need for that. So we need all the context, especially in a shared environment with many different needs. We might not know what would help until something goes wrong, and that's too late. And we don't always know the right questions to ask. And another thing is, like, we all have different strengths, right? Some of us in our community are great at building automation. Some of us, like myself, good at building dashboard. Some of us are good at documenting. Some of us are good at guiding each other on how to use a device, like many of our creators. And right now, to bridge that gap, you need to go to the internet. And the internet has all the ideas. That's great, right? We are the most welcoming community. People around the world share wisdom every day about Home Assistant. New posts, new video to help guide, educate each other to build the best smart home. And while this is great, many of these platforms like YouTube, Reddit, and Discord forums, these platforms where the knowledge is shared, they are not really designed to be sustainable. Knowledge gets lost very easily over time. So there's a lot of hard work made by our community, but the platform that they post to is not something that can keep our wisdom around. And as our community is growing exponentially, right, we just doubled this year, we need a better way to organize our collective knowledge more than ever. And that makes us wonder, right? We are the most welcoming community on GitHub. We are the community with the most contributors in GitHub. How can we channel this energy and turn our collective knowledge into collective intelligence? Big question. Well, so for the past decade, right, we made Home Assistant to be very configurable in any scenarios. And we wonder, like, can we make Home Assistant to be more proactive and intelligent? Can we help users anticipate, suggest, and guide the development of their smart home and help solve all these commonly encountered users' needs and issues? Some automation is very basic. They shouldn't need to be built over and over again, for example. And to do that, we need to build a better information architecture for our community. And as the maintainers of the Home Assistant project, we think that this is the right time we do something about it. And that's one of the central ideas for this coming year's roadmap. We're building a truly smart home with our collective intelligence. So let me break it down a little bit for you for what it means to be truly smart, to understand context and have the information so that we can guide and suggest and anticipate the needs of the users and the users of the users. So first is context. We want to help Home Assistant understand what each device is and what it does. Second is data. We want to help Home Assistant know what every device Home Assistant can work with. So let's take a look at one common problem that our users struggle with today. Here's an example, a fridge. Whether it's a smart fridge or a fridge that you jerry-rig a bunch of sensors on, it's about the same. Currently, it's represented by a giant blob of entities. So you have a light, which is like maybe the light inside the fridge. You have a temperature sensor to make sure your food is not spoiled. Maybe a door sensor, a leak sensor. It's almost like a mini house. But to Home Assistant, it's just a bunch of sensors. Right now, you have to build essentially the dashboard from scratch. And while this is like having this ultimate flexibility is great, sometimes it overcomplicates simple use cases. And the more devices you have, the more entities you piled up, and the more Home Assistant loses context of what's actually going on in the house. So if you ask, well, what's the temperature of the kitchen? Should the voice assistant include the temperature sensor of the fridge? And also, well, if everyone is integrating the same fridge, shouldn't there be a ready-made dashboard for that? And like for things like leak sensors and leak sensors and temperature sensor, do I have to build everything from scratch again? And therefore, in order for Home Assistant to suggest and build better dashboards, voice control, and automation, we need to understand the context of what these devices are. And here are some examples of how putting devices in context can help with the major pillars of our smart home platform. So for example, for dashboard, right? If we understand what these devices really are, then maybe integrations can come with a fridge dashboard already built in, or a car dashboard, right? If you have a 3D printer, right, you don't need to build it from scratch. It should have a 3D printed dashboard, show all the right controls. For automations, like for things so simple, like if you leave the door open for a fridge door, before then we wouldn't know what kind of door that is. Like it can be a garage door. But if we really know the context, then we can suggest the right automations, and you should be able to activate that automation as simple as a check, and instead of diving into automation editor and build it from scratch. And with voice, right, what's the temperature of the room? Now, Home Assistant knows not to include the temperature sensor in the fridge. And putting devices in context will shine for helping Home Assistant understand and manage many complex objects and systems like cars, kitchen appliances. Right now, users use areas to do these things, which is kind of a hack. It's okay. But in future, we want this to be more streamlined. And this will only be possible if we, the maintainers of the Home Assistant project, provide the information architecture for our contributor community to share how devices should be composed through our integrations. And so that's context. The other thing I want to talk about is the data, right? With all this information providing context about the device, we need a place to gather them all together. So it's not just about like having all device documents in one place. We want to universalize all of our collective wisdom and experiences about devices as a single source of truth. We want that single source of truth to be validated by our community in one place that is more accessible, more centralized, and more structured than like Reddit or Discord. And this is what we envision as the next major Open Home Foundation project, the device database. With the device database, users can leverage the collective intelligence of our community to make informed choices when they make their smart home purchases and additions. It helps our users, both old and new, to pick the best compatible devices for Home Assistant based on all the smart users around us. And we also want to make sure that when you pick devices, it embraces Open Home values such as privacy, choice, and sustainability. The database also, that's the cool part, right? It doesn't only collect knowledge, but also metadata. So that would allow us to do cool things like collect the power consumptions of the devices. Then that can really help with energy dashboard, right? And light brightness, like we know, like we can even coordinate lighting for optimum lighting for the room. And infrared codes, and things like that for individual devices. That would be awesome for remote control. All this data can be used and cross-referenced in Home Assistant and many other Open Home Foundation projects. And we can't wait to get started with building it. To support this initiative, the Open Home Foundation is here to provide the framework to help us all collect and collaborate easily and safely. This is a community effort, and we want to make sure that our community can really safely share what they know about these devices. And as we have mentioned earlier, we are also investing into building open protocol hardware antennas, like the Z-Wave antenna, to support a more open ecosystem. And as Miranda has mentioned earlier, we are also strengthening the Works with Home Assistant program. All this information can feed into the device database. So to recap a little bit, our central idea. Home Assistant can become even smarter if it knows what the devices are and how they're used. And with the collective intelligence of our whole community, we ensure that no smart home maintainers are alone in their smart home journeys. And they no longer have to be experts in everything to set their smart home right and also sophisticatedly. That's something that is really big that come out from our user research, is that setting up and maintaining is hard. We want to make sure that this is easier for all of us. And Home Assistant and the users can learn from each other in this hive mind. And advanced users can still tinker with their system with the awesome YAML. Love YAML. And while everyone else can also share the love and knowledge from the advanced user and make sophisticated smart home all together. It makes all our smart homes, everyone set up smarter, faster, and more responsive to all the diverse needs of our users. And by that, I mean our family members and our roommates. So here's the thing, right? Instead of scraping and collecting a ton of data sneakily like many big tech companies, one thing that's great is that we have the power of community. As Paulus had mentioned, the community is what drives us. Home Assistant evolution is guided by our community knowledge and contributions. So that was the central idea of the roadmap. And that doesn't mean that that's all we are working on. One thing I do want to make sure you know is that there are more items on our roadmap that is a continued work in progress from the initiatives from last year. For example, we're continuing through, for example, to make Assist more conversational, right? Make automations easier to use. These are all still on the roadmap. And we cannot cover everything in these 10, 15 minutes. I guess I run over time. I hope it's still 10 minutes. But we can't wait to tell you more details in a blog post later. These are long-running, ambitious projects, and we are here to build the building blocks for our community. And we can build something even greater together than what we can all imagine. Open Home Foundation will continue to support our projects and be the steward that steer our community and contributors to navigate the future, the road ahead. So that's all for the presentation, and let's build a great home automation platform that adapts, guides, and empowers everyone with full respect for user choice and privacy. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. That's awesome. I just we're doing some Q&A right now.
Yep.
You know, I think just first thing I want to say, besides it's freaking awesome, is that Clelia did an amazing job with those graphics.
Yeah, what's up with the glasses?
Yeah. I did think the light bulb looked a little bit like you.
It all looks stunning, by
Yeah.
the way. So thank you so much, Clelia.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
But yeah, I think the you know, there's just to call somebody Jaap on YouTube is saying this sounds like a huge project.
It is.
It is.
It is.
And it's not going to be done in a year. It started this year, right? This just like Home Assistant is a huge project, integrate everything in the world. This is a big thing that will continue.
Two ends on this, right? One is making actual kind of devices in Home Assistant. Once we have that layer, like every integration needs to adopt and move, so that will take time. But also the device database, if that's there and set up, it needs to be filled with data. Both are long-running projects, which will take a long of time. But the goal and the roadmap of this is building the foundation for it, so we can start filling it up and start moving.
Nice feedback from Jerry Wensing on YouTube. He said the home approval factor is the biggest factor of success.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thanks.
Yeah. I saw an interesting question from Dennis Smith's YouTube, just asking it directly to you, Frank. Speaking of all these different sensors shown in the example earlier, will it be possible to build our own virtual devices in Home Assistant itself?
So in all this like plans and such, I do have some notes somewhere in my like ideas for building out the factual device in Home Assistant to allow some sort of composite device you can compose out of entities. But then again, like at this point, it's a roadmap. There's an idea. This is where we want to head, and how it's going to look. Like that's up to everybody. Like join in that conversation, by the way, and help us out figuring out where we are going and how we're going to do this.
And we have template entities, so you can see there's a path to just kind of throw it all together in like some huge YAML.
We'll publish more on the actual working.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, these things take time, right? I think that it's very clear that we're ambitious. We have big goals, and I think that that's what we need to do, right? We have the community power. We can think bigger. We have people working on this full time.
We are an army.
Yeah. And let's put it to good use. Here is another thing. So not much has come in about the roadmap yet, except praise. So, for example, Brad Cameron said, great to see the ambitious vision. You can do it. Rob Klein Hofmeyer on YouTube is asking, really nice. Will the context database ship with the Home Assistant updates?
So, well, the database is not like just a website, right? It's actually really a database, a source of data that feeds into multiple different endpoints. So perhaps in future, the device page, right, in settings in Home Assistant, it can get data from the device database.
Right. Yeah.
It's updated separately. Maybe it's a live API. Maybe it's. We haven't built it yet. Just saying. It was,
yeah. Now this is the challenge with the roadmap, because everybody's brain is spinning now. Like,
we want that. Like, we want your ideas. That's why we announced it so early, right? We're giving the direction. Then we want everyone's ideas of how you want it to be.
I have tons of ideas, and I bet everybody has. That's the thing. This is not yet. Well, soon will be the moment, and then we're starting to collect and think together, right?
Yeah. Christian Bjornerud on YouTube had an interesting idea. I think I want to share with you, Frank. Maybe you have heard the idea before. I wish for smart release notes where only the info relevant for my setup is shown. A small system, short release notes.
It's really hard because like we have 1,342, 45 integrations.
Something like this, yeah.
So do you want me, like I spent already 2 days on writing those, by the way, just for the record, but do you want me to write up like specific release note for each integration and then show that like that's not like doable? We could maybe do more with AI and that stuff, but it's hard to write good release notes.
Yeah.
And I wish I had a better answer.
Yeah.
So but that's it.
Yeah, I think that that's it's not just one integration maps to exactly each section. It's multiple. We try to make, you try to make a story, right? Like it's not a boring document. It's
thank you.
Piece of art.
Thanks. But it's also like often the ripple effect, right? Something small has changed somewhere in the foundation that has an effect on a lot of others. Like it's not always exactly clear how far the ripple goes. So it's complicated.
Yeah. Yeah, I see. Like, this is questions like: is the development of the device database already started? Timinator's asking. Nope.
The project plan has started.
The project planning has started. Yeah, we had a kickoff. We have been talking to community members. We have been gathering some intel.
Yes.
Yeah, but we haven't like put a pin of like the first deliverable yet. That's fully open, right? Yeah, Andrew L. Hoover is saying, I'm very excited about the device database. Hopefully it will be searchable in the web interface and include user information like documents, project links, external resources. That all good ideas. If Laura is watching, just write down, you know.
I mean, we do definitely want that to be the source of truth, right?
Yeah.
The problem of is like a lot of websites out there is like they made that so that they want you to shop, then so they might be biased information. Here, we really want like the community like review, like honest information.
How do I reset this freaking like Zigbee device? Pairing, right? How do I put this thing in pairing mode? Like things like that. The manual,
that is,
like what do people think? Blueprints.
Yeah.
Example,
how
can I get this thing on a dashboard? How would my dashboard look with these things? Like there are tons of ideas.
Yeah, we can integrate those like onboarding information when you add a device on Home Assistant. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Here's a question that Ludovic Kabar posted on YouTube for automations. Have you ever considered switching to something more visual, like a Blockly or Scratch style?
So the thing you must know is that Blockly is actually a running gag since like, I don't know, I joined the project almost 8 years ago, and it's been a running gag since ever then already. So it's never going to happen. Somebody may build it. If you want to build it, like free to ship it as a custom integration or do something, but it will not happen. But we are working very much on the automation editor, solving a lot of visual aspects of it, but not just the visual aspects, also how it works, like how triggers work and conditions work is going to change.
But
like
nothing
will break.
breaking. Yeah.
Nothing will break.
Nothing will
no
break.
worries. No, but the making automations easier was one of the items of the roadmap from last year that's left. That's actually in progress and being made. There's also communication happening on Reddit and other places. But as said in my presentation, we want to be more open. So we will open all of this stuff more up, even the earlier process. And what I've seen, it's this is going really well. This is going to be amazing.
We've been iterating the design out in the open. Like people can click around the prototype and see.
That's true.
What
They've
they
been
like
posting
about.
on Reddit.
User research has been done at this point, so it's really well.
There's a good design phase.
Yeah. I have a question for you, Marlena.
Yeah.
I don't remember who posted it, but I'm just saying there's people are asking questions about the design system overhaul.
Oh, wow, you saw that. There's like a tiny block on that. Yes. Well,
yeah, can you share a little bit more about it?
There are two parts to it. First of all, we want to take a look at the navigation. Like that's right now we have.
I've seen a really good screen.
We have sidebar, we have the top tabs, with bottom tabs, and everything. We want to make sure that it's easy for users, like our now maintainers of the smart home, but also the secondary users, to find what they need as quickly as possible. I think that's the most important part of the design. And then yes, that's the design system. I mean, we are looking into different libraries to try to update it. For the design, we've been looking at the different typography. I don't like Roboto.
For the first thing when I met Madeleine, I was like, how can we get rid of Roboto? Like, can we configure
I don't like it. And the colors, like we want to standardize the use of colors so that it's clear what's an error, what's a warning.
Yeah, no, they're important.
From a technical perspective, we're using the Material Web Design components right now, and those are being in maintenance mode, right? They're no longer being developed, which is most of our UI based on. So there's also a big technical challenge here where we are going to replace all the components with a different framework, and we're taking that together with the design opportunity here. Don't expect like a complete different UI. They're like, don't worry, you will still be able to find everything.
Yes,
but things will
a facelift.
Facelift will happen.
Yeah. I heard semi-transparent glass is very popular now.
Now, the fun fact is this, by the way, is that we actually already replaced components in the last few releases, and we heard nobody about it. So it is kind of like that transparent, that close by.
No, well, and the whole dashboard is built with our own components from scratch, right?
Yeah.
So we've maximal control on all aspects.
For example, the spinner, the one has been.
Oh yeah, I love the new spinner.
It's a small thing, but yeah.
Okay, I think it's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
Not just for Q&A, but I think for
State of the Open Home.
For State of the Open Home, I think.
Wow.
Do any of you have some final words you want to share with the audience?
I would love to thank the community for everything they do and making all of this possible. It's heartwarming every day to get out of bed and do work on this. And thank you. Yeah, I love you guys.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here. I love the people that I work with, my team. That everyone is great. I love how excited our community is in supporting us. No other companies I work at, we can get 8,000 surveys results. The 40-minute survey. And thank you so much, Follis, for setting the foundation to make sure that our growth will not be affected by capitalism, and we can build something great that is private, have great choice and sustainable together, which is what this world needs.
Yes. Thank you so much, both of you. Thank you all for watching. I hope you've had a great show. It's been a little bit longer than we thought, but I hope you got a sneak peek into the people also working at the Open Home Foundation and Nabu Casa. As you can see, we have a lot of passion for this. We have a lot of ambitious plans for this. We want to take it a lot further. That also means that please support our work, right? If you are still watching and you're not subscribed to Home Assistant Cloud, there is a mismatch there, right? Support our work.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you soon at a release party or any other live stream we're doing. And goodbye. We're done. Turn it off.